That wasn't
If it's live. All right, good morning. Welcome to February's 12th Commissioners Court at 9 a.m. We have a full quorum present. Carrie, you certified the meeting was properly posted.
Yes.
Please rise for prayer and pledges. James Ray.
Our Father, we humbly bow before you this morning. Ask for your presence to be in this courtroom. Father, that your spirit may guide these gentlemen in the direction that you would have them go. Father, we thank you for their willingness to serve, and Father, we thank you for all they do for the county. Father, go with us and bless this court and bless this proceedings. May you receive all the glory. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Well, I didn't get any citizens input. Yeah, all right. We're going to start on citizens input with Michael Richardson. You'll just come up to the podium. Yep. And she's going to give you, what we got, 5 minutes?
And they are talking for an agenda item in
Yep.
specific, which would be number 24, right?
First, I want to say thank you for prayer, honor, oppression, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. My name is Mike Richardson. I'm a board member of Texas Grand Range Property Owners Association and a community resident. I'd like to thank all the commissioners for this opportunity to address the court. I also want to personally thank each of you for your unselfish dedication and personal sacrifice of time and energy for the betterment of our county. Being an elected official in any capacity is difficult in dealing with expectations. I applaud all the commissioners for your willingness to assume that role. I also understand that the Walker County Commissioners have a very limited budget for road and bridge maintenance due to several factors, while having over 1,103 lane miles of county road to maintain. This task is daunting, and I don't envy your position. I'm here today specifically to appeal to this court on behalf of the Texas Grand Ranch community concerning the possible closure of Dipping Bat Road. I understand that many questions regarding safety concerns when Dipping Bat floods due to excessive rain have been sent to the Commissioner's Court, including robot calling to some commissioners. I understand that letters have been sent to local and state politicians with these same concerns. I can understand the frustration of some in our community and your frustration. But please remember those individuals who have contacted you in a less than respectful tone regarding this matter do not speak for the community. They are speaking as individuals and beyond our control. These are the vocal minority who do not fully understand the situation. Dipping Bat Road has been prone to flooding long before our community was even a dream. Some in our community may not be fully aware that Dipping Bat was intended solely as a construction access road to Texas Grand Ranch and not as a residential access point. I believe the county commissioners, in trying to provide a benefit to our community, opted to pave Dipping Bat as a secondary entrance. This gesture was not unnoticed or unappreciated by our community. I'm appealing to the Commissioner's Court to defer any vote today and to take some time to consider the following points before deciding to act on Dipping Bat. Dipping Bat Road by default has become the primary entrance to Texas Grand Ranch, including heavy construction trucks using the dirt pit on Dipping Bat Road. Dipping Bat Road provides better access to FM 1374 and I-45 for over half our community, reducing driving time to Huntsville and in Waverly, directly providing a benefit to the county through increased sales tax revenue. Additional traffic routed on the chip seal roads in sections 1 through 4, including heavy construction trucks, will only cause quicker deterioration of those roads that will require additional county resources to address from an already limited budget. The time benefit for the community for fire and EMT response to some sections of Texas Grand Ranch is significant. Every minute an emergency matters. Access to the community for both Huntsville and New Waverly ISD school buses will be negatively impacted, increasing fuel and ISD operating costs while lengthening already long commute times for the students. Postal service, sanitation services, and delivery services will also be negatively impacted by increased fuel, labor, and operating costs. Wildfire egress is also a concern with the proximity of the national forest to our community, as well as having one remaining front entrance as a means of escape. Many residents in our community commute to work. The increased distance with the reduced residential speed limits within Texas Grand Ranch will cause a significant increase in driving time and an unnecessary increase in carbon emissions. There are 86 lane miles of road in Texas Grand Ranch alone, 7.8% of all county roads. With 1,500 plus property owners, one access point is simply not sufficient. The Texas Grand Ranch community is respectfully requesting that the commissioners leave Dipping Bat Road open and defer any decision to close Dipping Bat until all options can be reviewed. The Texas Grand Ranch POA is willing to meet with the commissioners to discuss possible solutions to this problem that will benefit all parties. I think there are many options we can explore in partnership that will in turn foster a better working relationship. Please, let's give these options a chance. I again greatly appreciate your time and your willingness to serve as our county commissioners. Your job is extremely difficult with very little recognition and a lot of challenges. We, the residents of Texas Grand Ranch, want to convey our thanks for your efforts. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Terrence Abrams.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having us in today. We appreciate the opportunity to speak on this subject. I'm a small business owner with Texas Grand Ranch. I'm not on the board. I'm simply just one of those residents. And I can tell you, based on everything that our board has respectfully and very alertly and with capability gotten the information to us about what's going on, because it comes as a total shock to most of us living there. We're currently in the upper 400s in home site counts of families living there now. It represents a little bit over 1,000 total residents and even more when we have an owner's appreciation event or a July 4th barbecue out there. And as a small business owner in Texas Grand Ranch, I can say everything that Mike just reported to you is all too accurate, as well as what we feel about how we would like to move forward. Most of us came out here to become part of the culture out here. We wanted to escape the big city mess if we weren't already countrified before we moved to the big city before that. And we wanted to get back out to simpler living, smarter living, a saner pace of life. Dipping Bat Road enables that for us. As much as I don't want to overemphasize the importance of one road, you gentlemen deal with enough road issues as it is. You know how important a single road can be, much less repairs, services, taxes, the works that you have to deal with on a daily basis for your job here. It's very much appreciated. As I've been told about the communications and the harassment and the complaints and the safety and liability issues, people like to throw out as inflammatory terms as to why they would like something done about dipping that road. We find that that's a very, and I want to go to an extreme measure, a very small opinion of whoever's rendering it. And what we found also quite shameful as to how they were rendering it. Robocalls, ghost emails, sometimes legitimate emails. I'd love to see those and examine them on a forensic state. Because we know some of the people responsible for this, we don't know about it. Maybe, but this is not how you address a grievance. You don't go hurling insults and robo-emailing and robo-calling. That's not the way anybody does professional business. A lot of our small businesses, this neighborhood I live in, Texas Grand Ranch, is loaded with small business owners. It's not just myself. And we came out here to be part of the community. My company itself is now already working with the Huntsville Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to get more involved with the county. We render services and goods that apply to all businesses and enterprises. And that's why we came out here. We'd like to set up new, rebuild, and we're in the house we want to die in. I mean, quite frankly, it's a weird term. Most of us are there to be permanent, if not all. And there's been a lot of craziness. I've heard the term safety and liability used a lot. And just as an example, for any of you who may have seen the road already or been there during a rainy time, I'm not sure who's had the pleasure of visiting our neighborhood yet. I'd welcome you to come out and visit with us more often. to have a serious risk on Dipping Bat Road, even in its worst flooding stage, you have to be the kind of person that's going to stop right in the middle of the flooded road, jump out of your car, and then go bury your face in the ditch to drown. Because it's not going to exceed 6 to 8 inches high. And that's at its worst time. And that can be dangerous for a car. It might actually slide off to the crevice in the road on the side. We don't have big ditches there. And it may be stuck. And that's the extent of the risk. And like you're going to hear from some other people, this happens maybe 6 to 10 times a year, or during a drought season, not at all. There can be risk on any roadway. I don't know of any intersection that's 100% safe. I've never seen it. I've lived in the city. I've lived in the country. I've lived near military bases. It just doesn't exist. We'd appreciate deferment of this, because if we're allowed to get time together and build you a case to show you the pros and cons as we see them and get your judgments and opinions in return, I think you'll find out it's a superior point of view not to close this road, but to work on maybe with us some solutions. We already came up with half a dozen very good, viable, solid solutions that we'd like to bring to your attention and see what you think about it. Give us your feedback as well. I feel somewhat ashamed for what we found out you guys have been having to put up with. When I say you guys, I mean Walker County as well. It also seems to be a little bit of a two-pronged attack, that the same people responsible for these complaints are also trying to squeeze the patent development company and find out who is willing to cough up money to build a needless bridge or to do something way out of expensive budget. It seems like me first attitude is what we're dealing with right now, instead of representing our community as a whole. I can also give you before I conclude here, one quick example of the services. I've heard some ideas floated around that we're sufficient with just the one main front entrance open. Up in our newer sections, they're finishing now, and Patton's still involved up in that area. If we have, say, a gentleman like myself suddenly develop cardiac arrhythmia, we have to call in. The closure of Dipping Bat Road will add an average of 20 minutes just to get to the victim and return him out of the neighborhood to go to whatever medical facility is going to be required. And in Texas Grand Ranch, I'd say the average age is in the 50-year-old range. We're not all spring chickens, so this is something to think about. Ambulance services alone, much less backing up the school bus traffic and construction every day that school lets out, is going to be a bit of a nightmare. And I think risk and liability is right there at a higher degree from shutting it instead of keeping it open. And with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Colbrand?
Good morning. My name is John Colbrand. I live at 103 Brahman Lane, which is on Dipping Bat. And I appreciate your time this morning, commissioners. And I echo the remarks of the previous. I second and would reinforce their remarks. Ask that you delay your decision this morning or table and allow further study of the issue. In addition to the issues that have been raised, the question, excuse me, question needs to be investigated as to what the post office, the implication with the postal carriers. We have developed 2 additional post office box locations, and will the post office continue to service those locations? Same with UPS delivery, same with Prime. Those are issues that should be explored before a decision is made. I would add in conclusion that when we bought, we were given this map, and the map showed Dipping Bat as an axis. And so a lot of us relied on that when we bought our property. So I would conclude by asking that you table the motion this morning and allow a study, consider all the implications and alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca Sanderford?
Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning. I'm Rebecca Sanderford, current POA president of One Texas Grand Ranch. had the pleasure of being here 7 months ago to introduce our community and our desire to work with the officials of this county to not only understand our infrastructure, but also work with you in addressing our concerns in our growth phase. One Texas Green Ranch consists of 1,836 lots, 1,586 property owners. The thing that I want to bring to your attention is we have only 405 homes built with an additional 72 under construction. This puts us at 29.6 of potential build. I was one of the first residents here in TGR. I love this county and community. I have learned to be a city girl living in the country. And speaking with several of you to include other county factions, I understand why agenda item 24 is being discussed. I want you to know that we had a town hall meeting yesterday to discuss this matter with our community. We discussed our need to be appreciative of what this county has done in supporting our community. I can assure you that so many of our property owners were disappointed to hear how you as our county officials have been treated and addressed. We understand that we are only a piece of the county, not the whole county. We also understand we live in the country. Unfortunately, you have heard from a loud minority who does not understand the reality of living in rural Texas. Taxes are spent across the county with budgets, and expectations are just not reality. I am here today to ask you to delay the vote on the closure of Dipping Bat and give us as a community the opportunity to work with our homeowners in preferred paths of communication. I would like to centralize communication through our board. I understand that Dipping Bat was a construction road that was paved as a gesture by a second entrance/exit for our community. This gesture has added immense value to our community. We need this thoroughfare. The closing of Dipping Bat could be harmful in many instances, potentially delayed EMS and fire, emergencies leaving the community delayed by the extra mileage, one way in and out of the community, which contains 42 miles of road. In 3B 4.2 in the Walker County subdivision regulation developments that exceed 40 dwellings, units shall be provided 2 separate and approved access roads. Where 2 access roads are required, they should be placed a distance apart equal but not less than 1/2 the length of the maximum overall diagonal dimension of the property or area to be served. Measured in a straight line between access points, will we be compliant with the 2 entrances we have in the front? Diminished property values by inadequate entrances for a community our size. Additional traffic on main thoroughfares, increasing road repairs and concerns. The strain on New Waverly ISD, transportation of students to and from school. Instead of closing Dipping Bat, could we have signage placed for low water crossing? Road may flood. This would address the safety issue for the county with very little expense. Gates could also be added for high water. We can't change the topography, so we need to manage it for those 6 to 8 occurrences a year, not close it permanently. In closing, I want to say thank you for this opportunity to speak. Thank you for working with us in the past. Please delay this vote and allow us to work with our community to better our relationship with this county and its officials. I appreciate you and the time you commit to serving this county. I look forward to working with you today, tomorrow, and the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don Kraft.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Dawn Kraft. I am a resident of Texas Green Ranch, as well as a member of the elected and newly installed POA board. My purpose here today is to address agenda item 24, closing of Dipping Bat at the precinct line. I, as well as the majority of my neighbors, understand that Dipping Bat was originally intended to be a construction road. Since that road has been paved, the secondary entrance to our neighborhood has become a major thoroughfare for both construction and resident traffic. It is a privilege that many of us utilize daily. Yes, the road does flood on occasion when we experience heavy rains. The result of flooding being an inconvenience of driving nearly 15 minutes around to the main entrance, delayed mail service, and delayed professional services. All of these are minor inconveniences, as we know the flooding will drain off quickly and the road is typically passable the next day. My husband and I both are proud residents of Walker County. Neither of us were born here. We were both raised in Harris County and talk often of how blessed we are to have finally gotten out. There is much to love and appreciate about Walker County, and every opportunity we have to spend our money with businesses that operate within the county, we do. I say this because you need to know that people like us exist in Texas Grand Ranch, and we are not alone. There are many of us living there and enjoying our lives in Walker County. You just haven't had the opportunity to meet us yet. The neighborhood of Texas Grand Ranch is a melting pot of people from many places. True, we have people from Harris, Montgomery, Dallas, and Tarrant counties. We also have people from other places across Texas, the US, and even other countries. Some of these neighbors may not completely understand the differences between living in Walker County versus where they came from. This is an area where our POA board would love to have the opportunity to work with our county officials to help our residents be better informed. I personally believe that education is the key to a successful relationship with our elected officials, who I know work diligently behind the scenes, struggling with a variety of issues to make the best decisions possible for the counties. Closing Dipping Bat Road would be devastating to our community. I, as well as many of my neighbors, have concerns about delayed emergency services, which in some instances could be the difference between life and death. This applies not only to response time for emergency services to get into the neighborhood, but also the need for us to get out of the neighborhood in a dire strait situation. This is a major safety issue for all of us, which significantly outweighs closing a road that floods fewer than 10 feet. In addition to the safety concerns of closing Dipping Bat, the added traffic at the main entrance, particularly forcing construction vehicles to use that entrance, will put an increased strain on the road sections 1 through 4. These roads are already a struggle to maintain. We expect construction to continue within the neighborhood for several years. Running that traffic through the main entrance could potentially become a much larger maintenance issue for the county. Dipping Bat, having originally been designated as a construction entrance, is equipped with handle heavy trucks traveling through on a daily basis. Keeping it open could potentially save the county significant amounts of money over time, which would free up funds for other much needed projects. I would urge you to consider leaving Dipping Bat open, or at the very least, delaying your vote to close it. Please give our new POA board an opportunity to meet with you and help build a better relationship with the Texas Grand Ranch community. Together, we can create a more informed neighborhood, and I truly believe we will begin to form good neighbors that do exist within Texas Grand Ranch. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Evans.
Good morning.
Good morning. How is everybody?
Yeah.
May it please the court, my name is Gary Evans. My wife Penny and I reside at 174 Rimrock. I have been for the last 2 years. I'm an attorney licensed in Texas since 1996. And I currently have 22 months remaining on my sentence as a director on the Texas Grand Ranch Property Owners Association. As an attorney, I am mortified to hear about some of the treatment that y'all have received on this topic or any other topic. I would hope that you'd never hear that from any member of our legal community. And I'd be happy to share any of the correspondence I've had on this topic with anybody, as we try and be as cordial and as professional as we possibly can be at all times. My purpose in speaking this morning is to encourage the county not to close Dipping Bat. One of the most immediate effects of closing Dipping Bat would be the result that my wife would not be able to find the house. Now, I will freely admit there that I prefer that she not find the house. But in this case, she, like many others, this is my clumsy way of saying that there are many circuitous roads within Dipping Bat or within TGR, Sundog, Remington, and the other ones that have been overlaid with our Mr. White's favorite project, the overlay project that's not quite completed yet. So we actually go out of our way to try and avoid some of the other roads within TGR because of this overlay. It's kind of like driving on a gravel road, which we prefer not to do if we could avoid it. We know you have a lot on your plate with all of these issues, and that's just one of them. But I think it's not just a preference issue for us when it comes down to whether we want to drive on some of the gravel that we have now or our preference for Dipping Bat. These concerns do have
some of them are soundly grounded in safety related issues, which I don't think we should ignore if at all possible. The August source of academic authority, Wikipedia, tells us that the golden hour is the period of time immediately after a traumatic injury during which there is the highest likelihood that prompt medical and surgical treatment will prevent death. I agree with some of the other presenters that closing dipping vat would bake in about a 10% penalty to the golden hour that could literally make a difference between life and death. Having driven both of those before and after our build, it adds 3 miles to those who live pretty much at Lone Star and Ranger. It adds about 3 miles to that distance to get to your homes that are on the northern portion of TGR. And I would say a minimum of 10 minutes, probably 15 to 20 minutes on average. We would prefer not to see those response times elevated, because right now we did have a medical event that required EMS back in December. And I think it was around 20 minutes that it took for EMS to appear. And that was on Sundog. That wasn't even on one of the other roads within TGR. Personally, I don't see dipping vat flooding as much as a safety issue as it is an accessibility issue. I don't think we've had any serious accidents on dipping vat that I can think of. A couple of years ago, there was a couple that didn't make the turn on the bridge and ran into one of the trees. That was clearly an alcohol-related event. And I don't think there were any serious injuries. We have had recently a very serious accident at the very entrance to TGR, and that is almost certainly going to be related to alcohol as well. We'd ask that the county take a good close look at not only dipping vat, but are there any other roads within Walker County that have similar issues that are probably not going to be closed? And we think some studious examination of that issue would be in order before doing anything else. Perhaps raising dipping vat slightly if you wanted to avoid the 5 or 10 days a year that we have some impediment with accessing dipping vat. It's not a huge problem for those of us who live there. We can always use the other entrance and exit if we have to. We will eventually have 1,800 homes within TGR, and I don't think it would be prudent for us to have just one means of entrance and exit from the community. Again, I was thinking, I don't have any stats on this, but I think it's maybe 5 or 6 days a year that we have an issue with dipping vat. I drove down this morning and it was high and dry even after all the rains we had over the weekend. So at
Brandon said it had water on it.
today.
I just popping on. No, no.
At any rate, I would join the others, respectfully request that the Commissioners Court defer this issue for the time being. We do have a new board this year, and we'd be very, very pleased to work with anybody that would like to further discuss any of these issues with you at any time. And it'd be our pleasure to do so.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher. That's all I got. You get any more in, Ally?
Judge, you want to go to that one?
Yeah,
Just
so we're
in case I don't want to take the-
citizens input. We'll jump to 24. Discuss and take action on closing dipping vat at precinct line for safety concerns due to flooding.
You want me to take off? You take off.
I want to make a couple of comments. We listen, y'all, and appreciate everybody coming today. There seems to be some, I don't know what the best term is, but the aggravation, the headache of a constant barrage of mistreatment. Even though we are elected officials, we have thick skin. But when we have problems with Commissioner White itself, look at having problems with other entities out in the community, it just kind of all points back to, I'd like to see you guys really think hard and heavy about relationships and mending relationships with the rest of the entities. And I'm not going to go into that, but the rest of the entities, Commissioner White. I want to reiterate two things. Number one, precinct 2 is your commissioner. I don't really have a skin in this game. Precinct 4 residents absolutely don't want it. But I understand the betterment of the community, and I understand the safety, and understand a lot of things. I personally will not, as Commissioner Precinct 4, spend a dime on raising dipping vat for the 10 days that it floods out of the year or whatever it is. Because it's not cost effective, number one. And I have many roads in my precinct that flood that are one way in, one way out, and people get trapped. So for the 10 days that, or whatever the number is, that we have an issue and you can't get out, y'all have a way out. It's inconvenient. I get that, but I have families that are trapped in and cannot go anywhere. I've got one sitting in the room and I'm not gonna point that person out, but when it rains, he can't get out. So, Mr. White has some comments, Ronnie?
Yeah, I appreciate y'all coming today. And basically, I see that, the majority probably of the subdivision is not what I've been listening to. But I'll tell you, if they wanted to succeed at pissing me off, they did it. I'll just be upfront with you. They have succeeded at that. But I do realize that they are not the majority. But I'm willing to work with y'all. I think Commissioner Decker's willing to work with you. And we can come to a solution to keep the road open. Hopefully we can work this out with you and keep it open down the road. But I have been threatened by many people in that subdivision. Politically, it's okay. They have a right to do it, but it gets you nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. I don't appreciate it. You know, I'll just tell you up front. I mean, when you threaten me, I don't listen to you anymore. I put the earplugs on, and when you're through, I hang the phone up. That's where I'm at with listening to the ones that do that from Grand Ranch. And when people tell me right off the bat, this is kind of the relationship I've already got with Grand Ranch. When they call me and say, I'm from Grand Ranch, well, I just cringe and I can't even tell you what my thoughts are because I won't do that in court. So hopefully we can get past that and those folks will learn how to deal with people. I hope we all learn from this. I mean, the court can learn from it too. But Grand Ranch needs to learn also. Y'all are not the only roads we deal with. Precinct 2, and I told some of y'all this in the hall, has 171 miles of road. I have people that get blocked in just like Commissioner Decker just said. They cannot get out. The water's waist deep. They cannot get out at all when we have these floods. So would I look at spending one county tax dollars to raise Dippin' Vat that's flooded for the last 400 years? No, I would not. Now, you know, if y'all want to contribute and work with the commissioner over there and get it up out of the water, that's kind of y'all's call and his call. But down the road, you know, I mean, hopefully we can come up with a better relationship. And I'll say this, Rebecca's been great. Greg Finn, Mike, y'all all been great. You know, y'all are not the problem. You're really not. It is a select few that makes it hard on everybody. And sadly, I mean, we have come to where we at today. I think it's a wake-up call for y'all and us to get past this. Now, I'm gonna give you some road names. If you think you got bad roads, I want you to go drive these roads. And you can write them down or call me, but I want you to drive them and call and tell me you got a bad road. Roberts Road is probably one of my worst roads. Chandler Road is probably the next one, if not worse than Roberts Road. We have Veronica Lane, Willow Creek, Ball Road out by y'all is pretty decent, but it's not great. But you go drive Roberts Road and you call and tell me how bad your roads are. Those people deserve to have better roads than what we're giving them. And that's just a small list. And I'm sure all these commissioners up here with me have the same issues I've got. We do not have the funding to fix every one of these roads that we have out there this bad. And when you drive that road, I'd like y'all to call me back and tell me how good your road is. You know, so I'll work with you anywhere in the world. You know, we'll do what we can to make this right for y'all. But I'll be right up front with you. Nobody deserves any more than anybody else in this country. Everybody to me is on an equal plate. So the day you think you deserve more than the rest of the county does, then our conversation is basically over with. So if we can get past this, hey, it's great. I'll work with you anyway in the world. Now, I had a lot. I probably could say the robocalls I've stopped maybe a month ago. I think they realized it wasn't going to do any good because I don't listen to them. You know, you can talk to me any day of the week. You can call me anytime you want to. But the robocalls over and over and over, the same thing over and over. I'll put you on earplugs again. And the threats, you make all you want, you get nowhere with Ronnie. You get on ground zero. So I'm just proud to see that this group has awakened. And you're sitting here looking at us today. Because, you know, I mean, we could take action because they have consistently told me how dangerous that road is. Walker County could look at it from a safety issue and close that road. And your subdivision was actually developed with the 2 entryways in front only. None of that in the back was in the numbers when they actually put this subdivision together. That was a construction road that we allowed to stay there and stay in place. So it is a benefit to you. I'm not going to say it's a benefit to the people that live on that end of Dipping Bat because they got a lot of traffic coming by them now. But it is definitely a benefit to have it for the subdivision. And that's kind of the way I look at it that way. But if you keep throwing how dangerous the road is, we got to look at it. Yeah, we got roads that's way more dangerous than Dipping Bat Road. Some of the complaints I hear it's not wide enough. Well, Brandon don't have any right of way. You see how wide it is fence to fence. And if if people don't volunteer right away, I don't believe in eminent domain. I'm not going to take their property from them. So if they don't voluntarily give it to us, I wouldn't be for it at all. You know, can he work with you down the road? Y'all want to fund it? I'm sure he will. So I'm going to shut up at that. I think you got the gist of where I feel about it. Be glad to meet with you. We already set up on a date for you and I, Rebecca. I don't know if we can include Brandon in that date, if he can work it. Maybe we can get him to meet with us also on that day. And that's on the 27th, isn't it? If you'll check your calendar, Brandon, and see if that'll work for you. We can change the date.
Change the date if it doesn't work.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm good with passing on it this time.
Anybody else got anything? All right, we're gonna pass on 24.
Yes.
We'll go back to consent agenda.
You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to.
Consent agenda has 16 items.
I didn't have any.
I didn't either.
Is that your
Good. I
motion?
didn't see anything.
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Oh, number 17, discuss and take action on purchase of a reserve used Fraser ambulance not to exceed 50,000.
Rachel, Lisa here to talk about this.
Morning, Rice.
Word on all of our units. So I kind of wanted to break this. We currently have the trucks, backup trucks. One of them is not usable. Probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago, we spent close to $25,000 getting it kind of up to speed, and it's been nothing but problems for us since. It's not a unit that fits in with the rest of our fleet. I believe it was in the truck when they bought it.
Yes.
So basically we have 2 reserve trucks that we can use, and then the one in New Waverly, that they let us use. So we're kind of talking and thinking it over with how long it's taking us to get ambulances, 2 years. Plus, we still don't have a date on our 2 that are on order. This might kind of bridge that gap. We get ultimately used ambulances to add to our fleet. This particular one we're looking at, the other ones we've looked at too, are Frasers, so they would be able to be remounted in the future. This one, I think that we found, we're leaning towards the pictures are on there, would be more conducive to our fleet. Mark has been in contact with the previous owner of the vehicle down in Colleyville, and as well as the ambulance depot, I believe.
And this is the one we're looking at for Riverside.
It could use that.
Are you setting a stone on this one or y'all just looking?
We're looking, I would like to be able to spend up to $50,000.
But I'm gonna tell you, this is a 2008 model
Nobody wants that.
and
You lost me.
I would recommend not buying a 6.4.
Okay.
I tell you, Rachel, I'd like to see a compiled list of all your ambulances and especially your reserves. And I mean, so this one you're talking about, a demo, is not a very old truck, right?
It's a 2017 Ram,
Yeah.
but it's got 190,000 miles on it
Okay.
currently.
It's got issues, doesn't it?
It's got a lot of issues.
Okay. Well, we need to see that.
I can tell you,
No.
its maintenance cost per mile is about 8 to 10 times more than any of our other trucks.
Okay.
But you know, everything that we've talked about, we hear that. And we've said it last court, there's no backup.
Yeah.
Where's the backup? Where is that
So
information?
the information was actually sent to you guys several months ago. I think in the summer when we did an update, but I'm happy to send it again.
Yep. So you're looking today to have the authority to look for something for $50,000 or less, right?
Yes, we're not necessarily on this remounted. It has very low miles and very clear
There's a reason.
background. Well, probably so.
Yeah.
But
There's
I've
one other
owned one.
person up here that drives more Fords than I do, and then it's Ronnie, and I wouldn't, he owned one, I'd never owned one for one reason only, and that's because they weren't good trucks. They weren't
Yeah.
dependable trucks.
I
You know.
bought one in 2000 and they had lots of issues with those trucks. Now, there is a solution to do away with the issues, but you have to delete, and I don't know that the government can do all that.
This is a Frazier and this is something that can be remounted and it's similar. I mean, I understand the chassis. I get that. I understand also the cost of these boxes. If that's something that y'all think that we can purchase, cab chassis under, then I would support it. But just buying that to put it in service.
it would be a reserve. It would not be a front.
Yeah, the long-term goal would be to remount it onto a more modern.
It shouldn't, so that's the long-term goal, then I'm not gonna be for that. If the short-term goal is to buy it and remount it, then I would say that's a pretty good buy, 29,000.
What does the box cost, Brendan? You have any idea?
What is the box now? 200,000 new?
Well, not without the truck. I mean,
That's what he's talking about.
it's 200?
Yeah.
Oh, well, hell, it's worth buying then.
But make sure
Yeah,
that's.
then you got to get the chassis.
Yeah, they
Long-
got, get a
Yeah, you're
cab.
gonna have to send it to Frazier and get it, I'm sure it's got some use on it, you'll have to, it's probably old enough, it doesn't have the locks. The locking system, you have to change the locks out to match code or protocol. And, if it's the same setup inside, I'm not opposed to buying this, but to buy this to put it in service, I'm opposed to it. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, it does, and it would not be a frontline truck for us. If it came to us, it would go into our reserve.
But if it's a running functional truck right now, the idea is we buy it,
We're buying a box.
buy a box.
Mark, how many miles?
Get rid of the chassis.
This truck
Yes.
is 70,000.
How many hours?
I don't have the hours metric on it. I can tell you.
They could not
that
idle very long. They got no-
A lot of long idle times. They have really quick turnarounds, really close hospital facilities.
Okay.
Did you talk to the Colleyville people about? the
I have
bank?
spoken to their assistant chief. They're working on getting me all their maintenance records. on
Maintenance
it
records and
currently.
stuff.
And the reason why this one in particular is one that we're interested in is because the box layout, configuration, size, specifications is almost an identical match to our newest truck. So remounting it, we would have that consistency.
And the idea is you get this truck and it's basically, it might be an 18-month truck. That's kind of what you're looking for, is a year and a half, because we're 18 months away from having 3 new ones on our yard. That you can, and in that period of time, you can sort it out. Is it 70,000 miles and this is one of the good ones that's hung out with it? Don't know.
There wasn't no good ones.
Well, I mean, it's in a community that turns them over 50,000 miles. It comes off the front line, 70,000.
If you can get the records on it, how many times it's been to Ford?
Right, yeah. So and
That'll answer your question.
that's why the agenda item was to approve up to $50,000.
Yeah.
To say, give them the opportunity when they're dealing with somebody to say, hey, I have the authority to commit the county to buying this particular ambulance. So if you get it, or you give them an authorization, because there may be others that they can come up with out there. That would be, but I think the important thing today would be to give them the authority, the authorization, like in the agenda item, to say, hey, go out and find one less than 50,000 and
Yeah, and do your research on the truck, see if
Oh,
it meets what we
Do
need.
that. Like I said, I would be, if Colleyville comes back and says, you know what, we put gas and oil in this thing and it ran.
They ain't gonna tell you that.
And here's, well, it'll have records somewhere, some kind of records. I say, you're looking for a year.
You ought to be able to take it and go to forward with the VIN though.
Shirley, you heard anything on this?
No, sir.
Y'all know we have a purchasing department.
Yep.
Why aren't they in the loop on any of this?
He is out.
We're not
Look,
buying at this
He's
point.
not,
They're just
they're out, they're
they're
looking for
searching.
options to bring it, and if it stays below
With
50,000,
Cheryl all the time.
so if it's below 50,000, then what is the involvement of purchasing? If we give them.
I don't know, maybe they got access to a bid quote or something that we can find some stuff, give them some parameters. Let them look for stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
and the other question is, why is the ESD not looking at buying this?
Because it's a Walker County ambulance. We need to get off that discussion. This is a Walker County ambulance to serve Walker County people. That's why ESD is not involved in this purchase.
But, okay, and I agree with that, Bill, but they've got a time frame too, and, you know, jumping out here and buying another reserved ambulance. I mean, we still hadn't heard, for one, what they're gonna do. I mean, we know they're gonna do something. They got to get housing somehow. Rachel's got to, find employees. You know, I mean, I know we're in a hurry to get this done, don't get me wrong, and I'm for it 100%, but jumping out here and buying another reserve ambulance and spending up to $50,000, I don't agree with.
I want to point out too, that we do have one current truck that is a frontline truck that has been to the shop how many times in the last couple weeks that we're having significant out of.
It's been up to Fort Worth numerous times where it was remounted in the past. We've spent a substantial amount of money on that truck, and it's a newer truck. Last year, we were at, I mean, that was like third in line for our highest cost per mileage.
That one's having electrical issues, so that one will have to go back to who remounted the truck. It's a Siddons Martin truck, so there's only one place it can go, and it's not even the manufacturer,
Yeah, they outsource their remounting it to a gentleman.
so.
But
There was no-
Siddons Martin, is that the same thing that Dodge is too, the 2017 jump?
Yeah, so that truck in question, the one with the highest cost per mileage on maintenance, that is a Siddons Martin truck. It's a wheeled coach ambulance produced by Siddons Martin. And any of their boxes that get remounted go through this shop in Fort Worth. Who he's been good to deal with, but it's getting the truck up there, it's getting it back.
Yeah.
It's time out of service.
Well, I'm definitely not opposed to them looking at something, you know, but it's not gonna be 2008.
All right, so what if we do this?
You know, so.
Hang on, Lisa wants to ask a question. Is that cool?
Yeah, well, if I can just, since you were asking about you at ESD two being involved, you know, this has just come up in the last 2 weeks since we were here. And you were encouraging us to look for a used ambulance for a short-term gap. Since we're being told by Walker County EMS that they wouldn't have a unit likely for us until sometime in 2025. Yeah, we said, well, we're gonna go ahead and build our housing because we want to be ready when it comes up. You encouraged us to look for a used ambulance. I thought even if we just use that as a stopgap until a unit can be acquired in 2025, then resell it if we need to, or keep it in reserve or whatever, based on expertise of your staff. But Walker County EMS pursued this after that discussion without involving or, you know, us in that. They looked at their fleet, they looked for something new and they found this. We're ecstatic about it. I wanted to go into active mode of building housing, but now I'm in hyperdrive building housing because if we could get this unit, then the only next thing is the crew who could be operating in the fall. And maybe it's not the ideal ambulance long term, maybe one in a different chassis, but at least it gets an ambulance out there while we're waiting for a new ambulance that's on order to come in. So we're really excited about it. I thought, you know, I'd go to safety later this month. I was gonna look for used equipment there. I doubt I'll find anything that's superior to this for this price. So I think pragmatically, and we want an ambulance out there as soon as possible. And we're one to put the housing up quickly. As I told you last time, we have options for housing that'll be resolved within a few weeks from now. 5 weeks out. We're down to 3 weeks now. So I'll be able to come back and tell you exactly where our housing is gonna be, exactly what it's gonna be. So our audit, we have the cash. We're not asking for any money for cash. We're just asking if we build it, be able to put equipment and crew out there. This was their attempt to say, oh, you can get something faster than 2025. And I really appreciate the effort. And just, we're excited about possibility of equipment, you know, out there as far as we've never owned equipment, as you can see from our audit as well. That's not our expertise. We want to trust Walker County EMS to bring their expertise to the solution, but we're just excited about anything that expedites getting service out there. But this year, not late next year.
Go ahead, Bill.
Rachel, employees, where are you? Are you fully staffed?
We have, 2 interviews Friday. Probably gonna bring those applicants on to fill 2 of our medic spots that we have just had come. And then we have a big open hiring process on March 14th.
So how many openings do you have?
Currently, technically 2 medics is all we have open.
Open. And then
We
you
have
would
somebody
add,
retiring, so that will give us a 3rd one that's open.
and then with this, you would add 6 more employees, right?
Are
Which
you
is gonna
having
take
any-
some time, I guess, is what. I'm
Yeah, it's
getting
not
at.
gonna be. All right, so.
And that's why I'm, you know, I don't know. I know y'all are waiting on ambulances, you know, and Lord knows when that's gonna be.
Right, I mean, that's the big
And that's the
problem.
biggest thing. We have 3 reserves that belong to us, 1 that's not usable, and then we have a frontline truck that's starting to have issues. So that truck is in and out of a reserve all the time. So, I mean, it's kind of a,
But you see where I'm coming from. I don't wanna buy something that's gonna cause us the same problem.
yeah, and we're happy to compile a list and come back next time or come back with something better before we purchase it.
How long does it take us to get a chassis?
That's what the whole, that's.
The
what the whole
chassis
is.
are actually, not as much the holdup as they were in the past. Now the manufacturers of chassis, they just have so many outstanding orders that have built up over time. Their production efficiency, and that's across the board regardless of manufacturer. The lead times have increased because that's the next bottleneck in the system.
So we buy this one, I won't say I am. We buy this one, we buy a chassis and put it on there. What kind of time we're looking at?
Depending on the availability of the manufacturer to remount it.
Would depend on Fraser.
Within a year, I would imagine, and that's just speculation.
Will that box fit on like the brand new trucks now?
Yeah, it will fit on.
So if you bought that, we could buy it, put it underneath it.
As long as it had the ambulance prep package on it from Ford, it bolts right, basically. Yep. So all the work that goes into it.
I think it's a good idea to get it. We're looking at a year to limp the thing along for a year. I mean, it's cosmetically, it's in good shape. You'll verify with Colleyville that it's not on its 4th engine or whatever, because I had to dump.
We may want to be on the 4th
Maybe
engine if
so.
we only get 10,000 miles out of it.
That is true. So
Now,
our,
as a caveat, I mean, this compared to our last out reserve truck right now that currently doesn't run, it's still a step up. Because that truck right now does not turn a wheel. It cannot turn a wheel. It's got its own whole host of issues. Now, the other option was to send that truck back to Siddons Martin and have them go through it again. Who knows how much that's gonna cost, how much time it's gonna take, and how long those repairs will take an effect. The Ram trucks that we have, for those 2, we have 2 ambulances that share a similar year Ram chassis. They've been, unfortunately plagued with some issues with us. Ram makes a good chassis. It's not great for ambulances. We have a lot of idle time. They run cool, they regen all the time. They have DPF system issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Ford's better, 6.4 better than that. I can't speak to that with.
I can speak for the 6.4. I owned one.
But at least this one technically does goal, but the intent would be to have it remounted as quickly as possible.
Well, if the box is worth that kind of money, I don't see where you go wrong looking at that.
that's what I'm thinking.
You know, I mean, especially if it bolt onto the newer trucks.
Get it here, and that gets us over the first hurdle of getting the ambulance moved up from 2025 till basically could be March 1st. They could be sitting here that quickly. They have a hiring process in March. Now they have positions to start actually offering. And Lisa has houses by October, November. This whole thing can be up and running by the fall. I think that's what that's an easy process to start, and I think this starts it. So, my motion is gonna be to approve, read what I wrote in here.
Yeah, the item didn't specify what.
Right, it just gives you the authorization up to 50,000.
So, Mark, how long have you been having trouble with this 17?
Well, we've been having trouble with it since about 3 weeks after we got it in 2017. We
Okay,
had issues with it forgetting the key. We couldn't start it. The 0 RPM system, which was a demo feature that came on the ambulance that's supposed to turn the motor off and run off of battery power.
Right.
That system was plagued with issues and it ended up being disconnected over the years.
so were you, lost my train of thought here, man. Too many squirrels. Yeah.
We have,
So I guess where I'm going with this is if this was such a big problem, take ESD2 out of it and Riverside and the ambulance. Would you have had to ask during the year for this? As far as, I mean, why, so this is a budget deal, $50,000 is a lot of money.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know, was this something that should have been brought up in budget? I'm assuming but we had 3 reserves, but you're having trouble with them. So if you take ESD2 out of it, one, I'm sorry. If you take ESD's 1 deal out of it, would you have come during the year and had to ask for the ambulance?
Yes, because we're starting to have issues with our older ambulances that
Yeah.
we weren't having previously.
And the extended lead times was more of a newer finding for us after budget year. We had originally anticipated 2 of the 3 chassis that we have coming, 2 or 3 ambulances coming
They should
by
already
the
be
end
here.
of February.
Okay.
And now that's been pushed out with no known ETA because of the production process. So this is just a big ugly Band-Aid to fix a cut, so to speak.
And Brandon, what year model truck did y'all buy for your extra truck at the ESD down there?
I can't.
I don't know.
Are you talking about the ambulance that came from Allen Fire Department?
The one that they bought used, yeah.
Yeah, that was a 2014 chassis, so it's a 6.7.
So it's a 6.7 in that. Okay. I was going to say if it's 6.4, we'd have
That's,
heard
that's,
about it.
that's been a fantastic. That was a good fight.
Both of those trucks have that.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the chassis problem, I think this last one we ordered, I believe, is a Dodge. Because we could never get a Ford commit to building us a chassis for it. If I remember correctly, the conversations.
Well, I mean, if the intent is to remount this, for one, my perspective is we need to make 100% sure it'll fit. I know you say it'll fit. I'd like to see it for sure.
Yeah, and there's gonna.
Not the only way
be
you're gonna
costs
get me on board with it. I need a little more information, honestly.
I would imagine that remounts probably gonna cost $20,000-$30,000.
Yeah, I can reach out and get a.
Yeah, because you're going back through the box, you're adding
Like-
truck
like-
to it.
Put a new let's see, does that one have? a
Yeah, it's got
generator?
generator.
Put a new generator, put your air conditioning system in it. Like I said, the locks all need to be changed out to where they actually lock.
$30,000 purchase may end up 100.
That's still cheaper than.
I get that.
But
So-
you're still doing it out of a budget cycle too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pulling this money out.
I mean, you talked about, you brought this to us last summer. That was during budget. This is the stuff that I'd like to see in your reports that you come and give us is, this is costing us this much ambulance. Can we start looking at a new one? Those are those conversations, not. We'll give update.
Well,
I want
we're
some details.
pushing ahead a little further because of the ESD on this.
Right,
I mean, this, you know, it's not just looking for an ambulance for, I think a lot of it does hinge that we're gonna put something in the side.
No, I get that,
So-
but that's what Danny just
Yeah,
asked.
yeah,
And
that's what she-
and I know, and I understand what Rachel's saying, they're having problems too, but it's
Last
all
thing we want to do
kind
is rush.
of commingled,
Yeah.
you know, so.
If I may, on the budget issue, I guess my understanding was that there is money earmarked at just over $500,000 for a solution for ambulance coverage out there at Riverside.
Staffing.
Yeah.
Crew and equipment all rolled into one, but, so I was assuming that
Yeah.
this is kind of that already budgeted item. It's not in addition to it, but it's.
we did, and this was a one-time purchase. That's a one-time item we put in there. So it's not one that will carry forward into the next budget. So Mike, to kind of maybe move this team thing to the end, is I would like to make the motion to approve the purchase of an ambulance, a used ambulance at a price not to exceed $50,000, and then direct Mark and Rachel to visit with Cheryl and see what other options we have, and to follow through with Colleyville and get a good maintenance report and get that all packaged up. And,
Your motion.
yeah, but I gotta put a comma there for a second, because here's the problem. If we say do all that and come back in 2 weeks, if this guy here has a pristine record and they're like, gosh, that's the one, and they're like, hey, you can buy it by Tuesday, or we got another guy who wants to buy it. Is that?
We're probably gonna have a special session next week. What I'd like to see is have, what it's gonna cost to remount it, all that, and we come back Monday. Andy's got some stuff that has to come back up.
What does a week do to you?
Well, Tuesday, then whatever it is, or next week.
Next week, we gonna be in court, we gonna be at Brian.
School.
Yeah,
No.
all week.
Monday.
Mhm.
Doesn't it start?
It starts at
Tuesday
noon.
afternoon? Starts at noon.
Y'all gonna do early bird Tuesday?
Yeah, we're planning on it, but
I think we got HJC on Tuesday.
I think I was gonna go there Wednesday, Thursday. I could be here Tuesday.
I know Andy's got
Anyway,
that stuff.
what does that do for you, Mark, Rachel?
I can compile some information.
I was just trying to get it all
I'm
in one.
gonna have to miss
route.
the
You can zoom in with your
Thursday.
phone.
all right, you made me call you smart ass right here in court. I haven't done it yet. I just
Yeah, okay.
thought. If I knew how to zoom, I would.
Yeah. Yeah, we got that.
Yeah, I don't think you need to, because I mean, if you're looking at doing something next week, we need to know if we can have court or not.
Yeah.
I mean,
what about Monday?
Monday's a holiday.
That don't matter.
It don't matter. We can have court on Monday if we need to. What is a holiday anyway?
President's Day.
Oh, never mind.
yeah.
It's not a holiday.
So that's been my motion, but I think I want to put on the end with, up to $50,000. But I think I would like to see them, give them permission if there's no problems out of Cheryl's office, and if the report from Colleyville comes back favorably, and we're not gonna, if it does come back favorably, I mean, actually, that's $100,000 box for 30 grand, and we're gonna try to limp along for you. I'd like to give an authorization to make this purchase if everything falls into place without having to come back here.
I'll second
How
that.
do you want to word
You
that?
get all that?
I mean, I got it.
Okay. Here we go. Make the motion. I'm
50,000.
gonna make the motion to approve the purchase of a used ambulance not to exceed $50,000. And authorization, I mean, that's, I could leave it right there. That's all it has to be, because of this one here. And that's my direction to the EMS would be, get with Cheryl's office, make sure everything's cool, get with Colleyville, get the records of it, find out. If it's on it, like say it's 12th inch and it fits transmission, maybe you don't want that one. But if it's the one and it fits your criteria and she's good with it, they already have the permission to purchase it up to $50,000. That's my motion.
All right, moving second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Ronnie, all opposed, raise your right hand.
All right, so what is your?
All right, but I'm gonna say, don't quit hunting.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the problem that bothers me with this is, okay, the truck ain't worth a dang, the box is. It's still, you're saying it's gonna take over a year to get it remounted, possibly.
Maybe.
You can get a cab and chassis.
We're not
Brandon's done said that they had trouble getting a Ford chassis. I don't know that for sure. If Mark can find that out, then that changes things.
But they're not saying that the truck is worth nothing. They're saying we need a year out of this truck. 1 year for $30,000, 1 year.
We don't know that engine's gonna last for a year.
That's why he's going to call Colleyville and say, hey, your policy is 50,000 rolls to reserve, 70,000 you sell it. We need your maintenance records on this, on this vehicle. If it's all good, what is the downside in it? And if it's, we're telling them no, then what is y'all's recommendation to them? We can't keep telling them, just keep coming back.
And if I can.
Coming back, keep coming back.
This would not be a frontline truck in any capacity. This would take place of our last out old truck. So that way we had a last ditch truck to get into that is usable somewhat more, at least more so than the one we currently have.
And you don't think your 17 will make it that long?
Our 17 doesn't run now.
So what needs to be done to you?
So that needs to go back to Houston to Siddons Martin if this doesn't work out to make it operational.
Okay, what needs to make it operational though?
It's
I mean, we-
electrical issues. The last time we took it down there and we ended up spending close to $25,000 on it, they would not even keep it inside their shop because it was a fire hazard. They
Okay,
had to work on it outside. It has electrical issues. It won't stay charged. What else? I mean,
It's
a whole
mainly
list of-
electrical issues with
So
the
it's
box, so it's gonna take a
been-
lot of labor to get that figured out.
to the shop since we have been here to try to rectify those issues. So I don't know. We called them the other day. They said, make an appointment to bring it down here, but if we're not repairing it and it's just an estimate, it's not like on the front of their, you know, to
on the list.
So I asked to remount that box, almost, let me back up. For the oldest one we've got, to remount that box and rework the locks and do all that, it's $97,000. So that's what your remount's gonna cost.
I understand what Bill's saying. He wants it to make a year. I don't know that it'll make a year.
That's
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna find out. And it make a year.
Well,
Let me
there's
look.
the option to bring it back.
Some people have had decent service out of those trucks. I've seen them with 300,000 miles on them. I had hell with
But
mine.
they've been
Okay.
depleted.
Well, we already voted on it.
But they need some direction, I guess. is
Yeah,
what the
you know
reason I
what?
commented.
We keep bringing them and the ESC up here and we keep telling them, no, we don't tell them what, I don't know what next what is. Are they gonna bring something else back? And we say, no, I don't like that one either. Go find another one. I don't
Well, I
like
mean,
that.
what's wrong with that? I mean, you know, just,
I do have a question about that, because if I had gone to safety and bought this truck for ESD one with our funds, are y'all saying you wouldn't let Walker County put it in service for us?
I don't know where that was even an option. It wasn't an option with me.
It was encouraged last meeting for me to look for a use thing for us.
It didn't come from me, I can tell you that, because I honestly, what goes on in the Waverly is their deal. But moving forward, I'll never be behind an ESD by having to buy a truck. It is like Bill said, it is a Walker County deal.
Appreciate that. Okay, I just need clarity, because
Yeah.
if we would have gone and found this and bought it,
I totally understand, yes, and
that would have been our funds, so we wouldn't have brought it forward. So now you're saying you wouldn't have authorized EMS.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't have.
Okay, so.
I can't
just
speak for the
don't
rest of the
know
court.
what to do then. I can't purchase used equipment then.
Well, that should have been an agenda item though, Miss Lisa. If you wanted that information from the court, it should have been an agenda item.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I thought it was instructed last month, or encouraged by the court to look for our own equipment, which we would prefer to have Walker County EMS own equipment so they can maintain it.
Yes, absolutely.
We don't have that responsibility.
I'll take the blame.
Actually,
I encourage that,
there was no action.
because if y'all had an ambulance, then we wouldn't be going through all this.
Right,
have
but
any
we had
information
this-
last time.
It's your ambulance. If you buy it, it's yours.
One of these days, we're gonna have to phase out the deal down there. It's gonna take some time. But me personally, I'll never be for EMS, not owning their ambulances, or the county not owning their ambulances.
So what are we directing them to do? We told them no on this. What are we telling them to do?
We will come back either on the special agenda or the next court date. Some more options. We will not purchase anything without.
I don't even know why you'd come back. We done told you no, Ellen.
Judge, I'm unclear as to what
Okay.
the item we're on.
All right, we're gonna move on to number 18.
Thank you, Race.
Thank you.
Discuss and take action on trimming trees at the Gibbs Powell home. Larry?
We were asked to come and look at some safety concerns at the Good Fellow Home down there in in the 11th Street. We met with the board, which consists of Powell family members and a few other people from the museum who walked the property, pointed out what we saw over there, and we have an excerpt of their meeting minutes in here. I'm just looking for authorization to go ahead and pay for a tree company to come in, pay them $2,500 to go over there and follow these instructions and trim the tree.
What you got, Quentin?
Would like to get very clear clarification. Is the family of Gibbs Powell the owners of the property? This recommendation in line with their wishes?
These people?
I think that's a Scott Collier question.
The,
I'm assuming they've met.
So Scott was there,
There and
members of
I just saw Quentin saying though, he
Yeah.
wants it to come from the,
courts,
Yeah.
liability protection. The family
oh, I get it.
trust owns the property. The museum is leasing the property. The trust has final say. And if the trust is not in favor of these recommendations, I would urge the court to be cautious.
Were those members that were there from the trust?
you want something in writing from them though, right, Quentin?
Well, I mean, that you just need to be sure that the fact the trust is in favor of these reasonable efforts here. They all seem reasonable to me, but if they're my
They brought in their own advisor and everything to look at the trip. I went to the meeting.
And I-
So,
I
but,
guess
yeah.
That's what I'm trying to clarify from Larry,
Yeah.
because I wasn't at that meeting. I
Right.
don't know. I do know that previously the trust was opposed to making some changes.
The trust was there and they brought in their tree advisor and we walked the grounds, pointed out the trees. Their tree person said yes, no, yes, and they took that guy's recommendation, passed it in the board meeting at this meeting.
So then the trust is in favor of
Yes,
these recommendations.
they had their parents on the phone, they were FaceTiming them. Everybody is aware
That
trees.
just needs to be on the record.
There you go. Sorry.
Move to approve.
Well, but,
Yeah.
but, okay, before we go too far, who are we writing the check to?
All the trees.
Okay, we can't do that. We don't own, we can't pay money to improve private property. Now, if we're gonna write the check to Walker County Historical Commission as an amendment to their budget, they can do that.
We have it
We pay
leased.
for a lease.
Okay. Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
our property.
It may not be, but we leased the house and we spend money on that house. What's the difference in a tree?
May need an executive.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Mhm.
For legal advice.
Well, we got two things to discuss since we're going in. We're gonna go in an executive session 551.071 and you know what I'm talking about? 551.074.
That was.
Oh. Why would I even open my mouth? I should have left Bill alone.
10-12. Drinks.
I should
All right, we're back.
All right, we're back from executive session at 10:42. We had a motion. Brett,
Adam made a motion to approve item 18.
I'll second it.
moved and seconded, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, sir.
Easy enough, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Number 19, discuss and approve payment to Riverside Special Utility District in the amount of 75,000 for generator and installation as agreed in contract dated June 7th, 2022. That was installed and invoiced vendor after contract expiration date due to long delivery time of generator.
Patricia is on.
Back from the ARPA money. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the agenda item is pretty explanatory, but this was a contract that the county had with the utility district. They purchased a generator with the funds that were allotted in the contract. There was a long delivery time on the generator, so the project extended past the contract expiration date. In visiting with Quentin, he indicated that action could be taken by the court that would extend that period if the court so chose.
That's, I'll move to make the motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Number 20, discuss and take action on the procurement from Renee Bates in the amount of $660 for Road and Bridge 4. Ms. Cheryl?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
So this is to request approval for the purchase of two rims and tires from Renee Bates Auction. It's for a maintainer for Region 4. The tire itself was around $1,195, so I'm thinking we're getting a pretty good deal for $660. So I'm just asking for you guys to approve that purchase.
What about that tax on there?
The tax is off. We have since filed a tax exempt form that is coming off, so all we owe is $660.
Good job, Miss Cheryl.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. 21, discuss and take action to approve order number 2024-33, granting exemption for Arkansas Lightweight.
So we received an email with information that this Arcosa Lightweight had materials that would be beneficial for the county as well. Mr. Doggett, you would like to speak on that, but we presented or drafted this discretionary exemption for that purchase.
This is the lightweight stuff up there around Terrell that TxDOT uses.
Yeah.
That expanded shale stuff. It weighs less, but right now he has a whole pile of it. And it's, I'm willing to take a shot at it. If we get it approved, we're gonna buy some, try it out. And if it works, it could be a nice source.
Oh, it definitely works.
Oh, it's a good source. I mean, of course, we got to where we couldn't get it on here.
That's the only reason.
Where's it at? Cause I see there's a pickup.
So,
Price, if that's what I'm reading correctly.
It's Streetman up 45, right there around Corsicana.
Let's get that, bud.
It's not too far. No, yes. My motion to approve agenda item 21 is presented.
I'll second, 2 seconds.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. 22, discuss and take action on the purchase of 2 tank car culverts, 10 foot 2 inches by 48.5 at $425 per foot for the total delivered price of $41,225.
We have 2 culverts. Miss Cheryl has worked very hard to get delivered this Thursday after we approve this. They're both undermining. Been patching them together every time it rains to be able to keep people driving across it. So I'm gonna recommend we move forward with this. My motion is to approve.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Good job,
Motion
Miss Cheryl.
carries.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
23, discuss Walker County. What? I think a bunch of people did.
Do what?
Just keep going. Discuss Walker County subdivision policy.
I put this on there, kind of because of the agenda item below it. To be able to kind of discuss with the court that just like the Dippin' Bat Road is underwater, it's not wide enough and different things for the concerned citizens. And when the developers develop, if we're gonna have a road, one of our county roads, and this is what I don't know, Andy or Quentin, somebody might chime in with it on it, but what I do not know is does the county have authority to require that developer to bring that road up to where it would not be in water, or it would meet our certain specs, where the traffic would be able to be on that road, okay? I know the developer's probably not gonna like it, but the prime example is what we just heard here in court today. Those people expect a lot that we cannot deliver with county tax dollars. So they need to pay for the funding to fix these roads, and that goes through the developer, passed down to them. So I don't know if it's something we can do or not, Andrew, but the legality of it.
Well, I think one thing what you could do, and I remember when Dipping Bat was being talked about, and I remember I drove through there with Deb, my wife, and I saw the palmettos on both sides. That's when it was still a cul-de-sac before it was built.
Yes.
And, but I didn't know what happened when the rains came. I mean, I drove it this morning and you can tell where it had got out and stuff like that before. I think one of our tools at the court would be to say, hey, that road's got 2 foot of water over it. Either you raise it up 3 feet, or we're gonna recommend we don't take it, and you guys will just own that road.
Well, the problem you get there though is you don't have the right of way. I mean, there's no.
Well, I know, they don't have the
I mean,
authority.
That's a tricky one, but that's the tool you always have in your pocket, is like, you do what you want, but you gotta get it past the court, and we're gonna tell you that road's 2 feet too low, and we ain't gonna take it over.
You know, I mean.
Then they have a decision to make.
And it could be that if they developed off of one of our county roads and they didn't access on the state road like this subdivision does, we'd have a major issue with that many people out there. So it's a concern.
Yeah,
definitely, that we need to look into, and I don't know whether we legally have that authority or not.
Our office can do some research. Closest thing we have to it now is the current policy. If somebody is developing on utilizing our existing road frontage, there's a trigger in the code. Once it turns over a certain number of lots on that road, that the road has to be brought up to its current standards. That's in the code already, but what you're talking about is more of impact on existing infrastructure.
Yes.
But in some cases, in municipalities, they would call it impact. There's going to be things different and not something we currently have in the policy, never been requested by court for. We can do research on that. I'll coordinate with Clinton and maybe a workshop on the options related to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know, do we have that authority or not? I mean, if we do, we need to look at it and try to put something in our policy with it.
Well, you know, it's not the first time it's come around. We've had that conversation in the past. You know, it's always been voluntary on the developer side to improve. You know, the one I was thinking of, for instance, is, you know, you come out to a road that's paved one way and it's about 3 or 4 miles to town. The other way is about 1.5 miles. It's dirt road. And they were worrying about the improvements to it, you know. I mean, obviously, we'll take anything we can get, but, you know, for us to require is a whole nother deal. And so
the new growth people that we're dealing with today is not the rural people we have living here in the county. And they're demanding more than what we can give.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so if we don't look at doing it, probably setting future courts up for a big failure.
Well, we are. And like I said, that's the tool. The tool I would use would be like I talked about, like that road goes underwater.
Yeah.
I don't want a road there. But if you want to build one, it's going to be yours. Good luck with that.
So anyway,
there you go.
You gonna check on that, Andy?
If I understand where you're coming from, Mr. White, your concern is we have an existing infrastructure, we have an existing road, then a developer divides property off of, connects to that existing road and increases the burden for traffic and everything else on the existing infrastructure substantially in a way that it never has experienced before. What can the county do to ensure that they at least bear some cost of the increase that they cost?
yes, yes. So, I mean, can we legally do that is, I guess, what I'm asking. And I know they don't have eminent domain powers to do anything, but the structure that's there, deal with that. Anyway, that's it.
Anybody else? All right. 2025, discuss and take action on BPS interlocal agreement for failure to appear program. This is just an updated contract. They just did some language upgrades. You know, Quentin, you got anything on that?
So when a person receives a Class C citation, traffic violation, if they fail to appear and take care of it, justice is needs and file record of that program called Omni. Basically, that puts a hold on that person's driver's license. There are requirements about how long the hold has to be there, and those things. It's a way to cause drivers to take care of their traffic citation. But in order to participate in that, you have to agree to various DPS requirements, and this is in fact an amended agreement that's been ongoing for a long time.
So that's my motion.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. 26, discuss Stomach Lake Road Community. We got anybody here want to stop? All right, nobody here. We're gonna go planning development, number 27, discuss and take action on Far East Land Limited LLC request for variance to section B4, table B 4.1 of the Walker County subdivision regulations regarding curb and gutter requirements for the proposed Sessions Pines mobile home and RV community project, George R. Mercer Survey A-32 FM 1700. Want that now?
No, I looked at it the other day.
Need it?
I'm good without it.
Stephanie, are you with us?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
The developers.
Oh, you want to hold it?
Hold it down. Chasing that
I
sign.
need to help. You know, I work.
Yeah, I figured you would.
It's in the hallway. He's gone now.
You gone? Stephanie?
No, Stephanie's there,
You
but
lying.
developer.
Oh,
You may want to
if you,
skip him and come back. Maybe.
Yeah, let's go down. Let's go to Far East 31. Discuss and take action on Walker County ESD2 request for waiver of permit fees for proposed new station 79 on Hawthorne Road.
We received a request to waive, there's a new station being constructed, to waive the county's permitting fees. We have two permitting fees essentially that would involve with a project like that. That would be our development permit, issues and those kinds of things, and then the on-site wastewater permit. The only part of the on-site wastewater permit that isn't ours is there's a $10 fee on every permit we issue that goes to the state. That goes to the state, whether you guys waive the fee or not. Right. You representing this item or just happen to be? I'm here, whatever. That's it. That's what I've got.
So you guys are gonna, who's gonna review the onsite?
We will look at the onsite, depending on the nature of the onsite, it will be a local review or state review, but the permits will be ours. Doesn't matter who does the review, it's still our problem.
Who's gonna do the floodplain review?
Us.
Us.
Yeah, that's depending on how complicated it is, without looking at the exact site, I won't know that. But it would be us or a consultant.
And what's the cost of the two permits that he's asking for?
It's based on two things. It's based on how many gallons per day without a design. Don't know that. But you can roughly say the on-site wastewater will be less than $1,000. And then the floodplain review is based on the square footage of pavement and the building. So it's a scaled price. I think those are capped at $5,000 a property. So I would say it would be safe to say that certainly less than 6,000.
I don't know that they're different than any other customer. To me, I mean, we got a room full of development people here that all paid their fees for the permits they want. It's not it's not a county guy.
We asked the city to waive our fees on
Do we?
stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I'm not a,
Okay, well, I'll change my tone then.
I fix to say, come on, Bill.
Take it off.
You my city guy.
All right.
Yeah. Professional courtesy to the government.
Waive the fees for the ESD2 permit fees for Station 79.
All right, I'll second that then.
Oh, you gonna give me a second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand.
I can be talked out of
Motion
stuff.
carries. All right, we're gonna go back to
Thank you, Bill.
27. Yeah. Discuss and take action on Far East Land Limited LLC request for variance to section B4 table B4.1 of the Walker County subdivision regulations regarding curb and gutter requirements for the proposed Sessions Pines mobile
Back
home
up.
RV community project.
Full of it, yeah, 27, 28, now, and 30. They track over to the, that before, you guys have in front of you is the out version of the kind of thing. And the part, I mean, it should be like.
You want it bigger?
It's up there.
It's up.
We have a thing in front of you, so I'm gonna turn it over. This is the, those things.
Can you state your name for us?
Yes, my name's Daniel Beeman. I'm with Beeman Engineering from Bryan, Texas. I appreciate the chance to stand in front of you again this morning. I've printed off the color conceptual site plan, hopefully so you guys can see it a little bit more, see exactly what we're proposing on this property. I understand that the last time it was difficult to see, so I understand perfectly why you guys wanted to have a little bit more information before you consider these variant or these waiver requests.
Just so the court, when you're looking at that in your backup, the first item number 27 is the third item. Reviewed here.
So this project is FM 1791. It's outside the ETJ, or actually the ETJ cuts through this property. The majority of the property is outside of the ETJ for the city of Huntsville. We're proposing 21 mobile home units and 67 RV pads on this property. We're proposing all of the development to be out of the mapped floodplain as it's mapped currently by FEMA. On the site plan that you have in front of you, some additions that I made since the last time we spoke. I put some graphics of actual RV pads on here. I put some graphics of where vehicles would park. I know that was something that we discussed. I also put on here or highlighted some directional arrows for each road to clarify what direction those roads would offer. We're proposing to I guess we can discuss the actual 27 item. You mind?
So 27 item is curb and gutter variance request.
Okay, so the request for this waiver would be for our curb and gutter. We're requesting that we eliminate or omit the curb and gutter in the RV section, primarily so that we don't have driveway curb, driveway curb, driveway curb. Makes it easier for those RVs to pull into those spots. We're also proposing, kind of in addition to that, I think it's actually a different item, to collect the stormwater in the middle of those concrete streets in the RV section, along section 4 and section 3. We're currently proposing that section 5, section 7, and section 6 sheet drain across, but
eliminating or allowing us to eliminate the curbs would allow us to drain that water across those sections and then collect it in the middle. If we collect it in the middle, then, you know, we don't necessarily need the curbs in order to collect that stormwater. So that's what the request to eliminate the curb and gutter is for item 27.
So for the court's clarity, it says sections 2 through 7, that's everything except for the road. So 2 through 7 is all the roads servicing the RV section of the development.
Okay.
Stephanie, can you go over your recommendation to the court?
Yes, sir. So the streets that were mentioned to sheet flow across, instead of being collected in the center, we do offer an objection to that proposal. A typical curb and gutter street would have drainage that's collected in the streets with inlets. And so if the court were to approve a variance to eliminate those curbs, we still believe that the drainage should be collected in the streets and not allowed to sheet flow across the streets and through other RV pads and then into another street. So that's our primary objection. The widths are addressed in a different variance request, so I'm not going to touch on those, but we have 3 contingencies also listed under item 3 related to this variance.
So you don't have an objection to the removal of the curb and gutter as long as the contingencies are met?
Correct. Yes, sir.
The idea would be that Beach Street would center, his idea was to cross flow. What Stephanie's saying is that the cross flow of the drainage, there needs to be collection that occurs. Collection there, not cross flow the entire street.
And the idea with having those particular sections sheet drained across, they're at the top of the hill. They're not going to collect as much. There's not going to be as much runoff going across those streets. If we collect them in those streets, then it's additional piping, additional inlets that we have to convey that stormwater to the creek. We would have section 3 and section 4 collect in the middle, so that we collect it before sending it to the creek. But by that time, most of that property has run off into those sections. We felt like we needed to collect it because of the additional runoff at the bottom of the hill, as opposed to the runoff at the top of the hill.
So what are your RV pads?
I'm sorry.
Your RV pads, what are they made out of? Are they concrete?
They're proposed to be gravel. There's a gray section on that site plan that would be concrete. That's going to be like a place for a picnic table, or a place to kind of place to put some things when you're staying there.
So what happened to our
I'll let them quit talking.
the curbs, the back, what do you call them, Andy? Kind of like what they done.
Lay down curb.
Lay down curb.
Are proposed in section 1, which is the mobile home park section. They're requesting, this variant specifically is requesting no curbs in the RV section because they're doing it inverted.
Yeah.
Or they want a sheet flow all the way across.
So what is your options? I mean, you doing an inverted road or a sheet flow?
Well, the request is for some to be sheet drained and some to be inverted. Sections 3 and 4 would be inverted to collect that stormwater.
So you're looking at section 7, 6. To sheet flow. Yeah.
Section 2 would actually collect in the middle. Section 3.
3, 6, and 7
would collect in the middle. But section 5, 7, and 6 would sheet drain across.
So the 3 roads that are nearest.
And understand your question about lay down curb. Lay down curb is can be pretty rough when you're in a regular vehicle. The idea was you're trying to maneuver an RV across a lay down curb. It's a little bit more difficult to do.
You know, when you and I met, first question I asked you was, how come you can't meet our policy?
Yes, sir.
And you said basically that it wasn't that you couldn't, it's just you got proposals. I think if I remember right.
Well, what I said was, it's not that we're choosing not to, we're trying to provide an alternative because of the way the RV park would operate.
I'm not gonna be for your variances. I'll just tell you straight out, I'm not gonna be. If you got something in there that you cannot absolutely meet, I would be willing to look at that. But I would tell you that we spent a lot of time on that policy. We spent years getting that policy in place. And you need to do everything you possibly can to meet the policy before you ask for a variance. So, y'all got anything you want to add? That's kind of where I'm at on it, but.
No, I'm with you 100%. We did spend a lot of time with it. And one of the disclaimers, I guess, on the request for variance is that the financial decision can't be a part of the conversation. Just because if it costs more, we don't consider that. If it's physically impossible, then we talk about that. But the price of it, we had to set that to the side. And I think, to me, that's what this is basically just costs.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see.
Well, I'd like to say that it's not just a cost issue. It's what is really needed for the RV park. The 32-foot wide streets are for emergency vehicles to access, and for there to be at least one lane of parking on the side of those streets. We're providing parking in each RV pad, enough room for people to park in each RV pad. And most of these sections 5 and 4, 7 and 6 are for one-way direction. You don't need a 32-foot wide concrete for one-way direction so that an RV pad can pull up and back in. So it's not necessarily just a cost issue. There's no need to have a 32-foot wide for that scenario.
Okay, so item 27, strictly curb and gutter.
Correct.
For the mobile home side and the RV side.
No, the RV, the mobile home side, we are providing curb and gutter.
Okay, well, your item said mobile home and RV community, so if you're talking about, and you said these roads in the RV part, those are gonna be concrete also.
Those are gonna be concrete, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's concrete, so we're not really even addressing the inverted drainage versus the sheet flow in this agenda item. We're just discussing whether or not you need to put curbs in this development. That's what this agenda item.
So they requested to not place curbs and gutters on this entire section where the RVs are located. They are proposing an inverted drainage system on this section and this section.
Right, that's not this agenda item.
Well, it's part of their variance request for not having curbs. So that's their alternative, right? So they're trying to show how they're going to drain the streets without curb and gutter. The mechanism that they're putting forward is to drain the streets, either by sheet flowing across or by collecting them in the middle. Our staff, our review is to object to the sheet flow, because it's just putting water across the road and directly across the RV side.
So that'll be a comment whether or not there's a curb and gutter there or not. Laid out or not. I mean, there's a curb and gutter. He could say like over here on the mobile home side, lay down curb and gutter, correct? Or stand up curb.
He's doing a lay down.
Right, so he's doing a lay down over here.
Yes.
So to me, and it's very specific regarding curb and gutter requirements, are we going to have him put curb and gutter requirements on the sidewalk? I don't think we talk about drainage on this. That's gonna be another topic. Very specific.
It is specific, that's exactly what it is.
Omit curb and second, got their own sections too, so.
The separate question needs to be, can I sheet flow it or can I center collect into my street? That's a different question. That's separated from what,
We have 4 items,
right?
so we're on number 3 on your list right now, waive the curb and gutter requirement section 2 through 7. And then, you have waive road bid standards. I know there was some discussion with that's actually a different branch request.
Right.
And then waive the requirements for the detailed floodplain, and then waive the minimum road offset standard of 200 feet. He's requesting to waive the curb and gutter requirement. But as anytime that you request to waive curb and gutter requirement, you're gonna propose, if you're not going to open, you're gonna propose an alternate system of drainage. That's what the curb and gutters are there for, right? To move the water.
So I guess the objection is for my proposed alternative, not whether or not we need to provide curb and gutter.
Well, if they don't approve the non-use of curb and gutter, I mean, if they require the curb and gutter, then the design will follow curb and gutter.
Sections, was it 4 and 5 that are going to center drain? Why do they require curb and gutter? If it's gonna sheet flow off the property into the street, you go to the center of the street, curb and gutter transmit it down the road to a collection area, then it crosses and then it goes over.
Right.
So what does center collection, why does that matter? If we have a curb and gutter to drive it down the street, why are we asking him to do that? And then,
Well, I'm asking for,
That's what he's asking for the variance.
eliminate the curb and gutter so that we don't have
yeah,
RVs needing to get over that curb. Or if we did stand-up curb, to have driveways and then driveway curb, there's just so many cuts that looks basically like it's perforated. And like I said, we're asking to omit a laydown curb there so that it's easier for RVs to maneuver when they're backing into those pads.
where you at, Ronnie? What you got?
I just think we need to stay with the policy. You know, we haven't really gone away from the policy on this at all since we put that new policy in effect. And I don't see a place to start unless there's an absolute way that you cannot do something. I mean, if you can't do something, then I can look at that, but that's kind of where I'm gonna be. I'm not gonna be for it. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So my motion would be to deny it.
Give you a second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand.
With you.
Motion failed. Or motion passes. 28, discuss and take action on Far East Land Limited LLC request for variance to section 4.37 of the Walker County subdivision regulations regarding FEMA floodplain study requirements for the proposed Sasson's Pine Mobile Home and RV Community Project.
It's number 1 on your letter. Where's the letter? Is that the one
Yeah.
from last week? Or last week?
No,
I don't know that I got it either.
I had a copy, but I don't been through them so much. I don't know my copy yet. Anymore.
That was the responses
From Blau, yeah.
Know the answer to that one already.
Their recommendation, our recommendation is not to approve this.
That's my motion.
I'll second it.
motion and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. 29, discuss and take action on Far East Land Limited LLC request for variance to section B 3.3.3 of the Walker County subdivision regulations regarding minimum offset requirements for the proposed Sasson's Pine Mobile Home and RV Community Project.
This waiver request is
Go up or down?
Is it where that pole is?
This is where there's an electrical pole right here. There's an electrical pole there.
Yeah. I mean,
You read that?
I haven't seen that.
The request is to allow those two streets, section 7 and section 5, to have an offset. That's because there's a pole there.
Now, if you're building to our policy, you're still gonna have offset, right? It'd be an offset you put in about.
Stephanie's thought on this one.
There's no strong objection.
Stephanie, can you explain to the court your objection?
Yes, so the policy requires a 200-foot offset between intersections. They're providing about a 45-foot offset. Typically, when I look at this, I look to see if the option they're presenting is equal to or better than what the policy is offering. And so we do have an objection to this because what they're providing is not equal to the policy. It's only 45 feet. There is an increased potential for conflicts between the cars and the vehicles. And but I do see the hardship that they have with that power pole and the existing infrastructure.
Yeah, the other thing that reduces conflicts is one-way direction for section 5.
Yeah.
Stephanie, can you, just for the court's benefit,
If it goes back to policy.
explain the reason that we have the offset requirement in the code?
Yeah, so the offset is in the code because if you either want your intersections aligned or you want them at least 200 feet apart, that way there's spacing for vehicles to make those turning movements. And so just the slight offset, the 45-foot offset, it increases the potential to have those conflicts for turning movements.
I feel like this one is probably needed. What do y'all think?
I'm with you.
Because you can't develop within the policy on this one. So.
Yeah.
And that's all we're dealing with on this one, Andy, is the offset.
Yeah, did you have any contingencies for this one, Stephanie?
No, sorry, do not.
Then I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Moving seconded on.
Do we need to put a time frame on it? Or how many days?
I would, time frame to development. They always put when they grant a variance, they put a time limit on it. So 12 months, 18 months?
18 months.
18 months.
18 months is fine.
Second, 18 months.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Number 30, discuss and take action on Far East Land Limited LLC request for variance to section B4, table B 4.1 of the Walker County subdivision regulations regarding minimum pavement width requirements for the proposed Sessions Pine Mobile Home and RV community projects.
Again, this what we request is for pavement width. Our proposal is to provide a one-way direction RV street, which would not need a 32-foot wide pavement section. On the mobile home side, we're proposing a 26-foot wide back curb to back curb and pulling all of the parking off of that road. There would be an HOA, or I'm sorry, not an HOA, but a leasing office that would be responsible for enforcing parking on the mobile home road. That's section 1. So we're providing a place for cars to park as an alternate to parking in the street, which would give emergency vehicles the full width of the pavement to access. Similarly, on the RV side, we're providing a space in each RV pad, enough room for vehicles to park off of those streets. There should not be any cars parking on those streets, which would again give the emergency vehicles the full width of the streets to access the property. In my opinion, the 32-foot wide pavement section is not needed. RV vehicles to access and to back into these spaces.
Stephanie.
So we did offer an objection to the 20-foot wide section. This
the 20
Just come with the ones.
There's not a 20-foot wide. Those are 22 feet.
32 to 26.
32 to 26 is for the mobile home side. RV side.
Who's asking for like 22, when
22 for the one-way
So that's
section.
what I said.
So 20, you're requesting a 26-foot road section for the mobile homes, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay. So we did offer an objection to that roadway section. Do acknowledge that they've got off-street parking, designated off-street parking spots, 3 to 4 per mobile home, parking spaces. And this is a rather low volume roadway. So I believe there's about 21 mobile home spots proposed. And so we can see that this is equal to like a low volume roadway. But the lowest we could recommend for a low volume roadway would be a 20-foot 8 wide section. Just if you look at something equivalent to what the city of Huntsville would allow.
well, somewhere in there you was asking also for asphalt versus concrete. Where was that at in this? Or am I thinking about a different place?
On the mobile home side is asphalt.
I'm gonna just hang with our policy because I don't see no reason to go away from it at this point. I mean, like I say, if there's things that you just cannot meet is one thing, but the proposal, just bring it to us and not even want to try to beat our policy. I just cannot go along with that. You know, you have to show me why you can't meet it. And what do y'all think? What's your discussions?
The one conversation would be the last thing Stephanie talked about, I think, would be that low volume street that we have on the mobile home side.
And it's a 28.
Your recommendation for minimum width on that is what, Stephanie?
I would not allow anything, or I would not recommend anything less than 28 feet. And that's just looking at similar regulations in the area for low volume roadways.
And that's back of curb to back of curb, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And that's on mobile home or all of it?
Mobile home. He's
Okay.
requested 22 foot wide.
Yeah.
On
On the one way.
5 where he's putting one-way streets in.
And to offer clarification, these are intended to be privately maintained streets. They're not to be dedicated to the county.
Now, since the court did not approve the variance on curb and gutter, on the one-way sections, the 22-foot wide proposal, I think originally was lane because there was no curb, right? So, Stephanie, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, so I'll kind of cover all the other RV sections. For two-way traffic with if a valley section were approved, we would have no objection to 26-foot wide roadway. But part of that no objection is also that parking would not be allowed along the roads. And they've indicated that would be what that would be enforced. I just don't know how they would enforce that within the development.
Right, but
And how the county would have on enforcing
But
that.
Stephanie, the valley not approved, the curb and gutter was not waived. So when we consider this variance for width, we can only consider it on the basis of the fact that curb and gutter is still going to be required.
Correct. So then my objection I would offer an objection, and my recommendation would be that they would need to meet the policy.
I'm thinking about some other problems we've had in the past. I think I'm gonna stick with you. I don't.
Well, I mean, the problem is they're gonna park where they want to, and you just have to tow them off, whatever you have to do, but it's a common problem we have throughout the county. You know, the emergency services can't get to where they need to be. So I'm gonna just deny it. My motion's number 30, is that work now?
30.
30.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. 32. Discuss and take action on Gene Browning request for variance to section 5.1 and 5.3 of the Walker County subdivision regulations in order to subdivide, convey 3 portions of living water subdivision by meets and bounds description without revision of plat under section 232.010 of the Texas Local Government Code, Joseph Gillespie Survey A-233, WB Burdett Survey A8, and P. Yosis Survey A619.
Over there.
So they're here. Guys have any questions, but I'll start it out. So it's a little complicated. Originally, there was a plat filed with a one lot plat that was filed. They're wanting to move forward with a transaction to sell a staff. What's your staff width on that? Proposed staff. 80, both sides.
Come on up, Mr. James.
80
You liable
foot
to be
here,
part of this.
80 foot here, but they want to sell this staff all the way out to the main track and hold back for separate sale, a little corner right here to this owner and this strip to this owner. That's essentially the proposal.
Is this, I'm not familiar with the project. Is this a county? What?
This is FM road out here, 980.
Oh,
Okay.
gotcha.
So originally it was created with a 160 foot staff all the way back. This owner is only looking for the 80. This owner is interested in owning that strip that backs up to him, and this owner is interested in this little piece that would corner out his lot. So in order to move forward with this, these people are both in existing separately platted subdivisions, right? Another subdivision. So in order to move forward, they have 2 routes forward. They can abandon this whole subdivision to meet, they don't have to come before Commissioner's Court. They can abandon it and replat these into those lots. Or what Mr. Browning is putting before the court today is, can the court allow under 232.010 the sale of sections of a previously platted lot by meets and bounds?
So, I'm
And
just
that would
asking
be
for
this,
clarification, but
and
the,
this
the top staff, the very top staff on there,
here.
are we gonna use that for a access point?
This individual.
It'll go with another track.
Yeah, go to.
It's gonna go,
We're not,
adjusting his boundary.
wants to purchase that. So if you look at variance requests before the court, Mr. Browning has committed that, they will make sure during the transaction that no SSF will be placed on either this track or that track as separate tracks. In other words, they're not going to develop them separately. They're going to be sold to these adjoining owners. Either those adjoining owners can then replat those and go through that process, or can hold them separately with the tracks that they own. That's what they're looking to do.
yeah, and it'll be tied to where you can't put a.
2 ways to get there, either this, the 232.010 approval, or going through the abandonment of the original plat back into our acreage, and then going through a replat of the zoning subdivision to tie those acreages into those lots.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Browning's asking the court to go this route.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it.
You got a
Andy,
motion?
any,
Well, just
Yeah, that's right.
he proposes additional conditions, so with the conditional conditions that are proposed here. They say they're going to
take care of any of the problems.
that they'll move forward with a replat within 6 months to clear up that as well. So those are the conditions that were proposed, so with the proposed conditions.
I'll make a
Each
motion.
piece is gonna be sold within the next 2 weeks on one piece, 4 weeks on the next one, 5 weeks on the next one. All gonna be done, and then we'll offer a replat where it's all done.
So you may see it back in front of you as an abandonment.
Yeah.
But this allows him to move forward.
All right, I'll make a motion. We accept number 32 with the, approved conditions.
Second.
Move and second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion
Thank you, Mr.
carries.
Browning.
Number 33, discuss and take action on Wanda Copeland request for variance to section B 2.9 and B 4.6 of the Walker County subdivision regulations regarding 20-foot utility easement and 70-foot right-of-way requirements for plat number 2024-002, replat of lots 40-41, block 2, section 1 of the Wildwood Shores subdivision, GW Robinson Survey A454.
And it is the same thing we do in Wildwood Shores every time. There any
Yeah,
difference in that?
essentially, we're asking for a variance to leave the right of way. It's a private road system. To leave those, lot frontages as they are and to leave the utility easements as they are.
Move for.
This is. This
I'll
is the
second it.
surveyor.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Need enough.
Did you want to talk?
I wanted to confirm, and you bringing this up, saying that this is similar to what we see all the time. I wanted to know, basically going forward, if we present something like this, that's an existing condition, everything's in existence, all she's trying to do is remove one lot line to combine one into one property, that there wouldn't be much objection to any of that going forward. So.
There's not. Yes.
Never guaranteed.
Yeah, but.
Exactly, it's a variance, I understand.
Depends on the attitude.
Exactly.
All right, number 34, discuss and take action on Eric and Amanda Anderson request for variance to section 4.33 of the Walker County subdivision regulations regarding right-of-way requirements for plat number 2023-056, replat of lots 24-25, block 2, section 6 of Wildwood Shore subdivision.
It's essentially that's a little different.
I lost what I thought. Move to approve 34.
I'll second it.
Moving second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
No,
35, discuss and take action on Waverly Manor at High Meadows Development LLC request for waiver of 25% additional submittal fees for plat number 2023-010, the Manor subdivision.
Okay. Board is to discuss and take action on a request for additional fees. Right now, based on court's direction last session, there were some changes made to the plan on this following the third review, which required us to do a fourth review. I have GLS and TJ's here. TJ. So he's going to talk about sort of what the differential was between the third and fourth submittal. I'm sure that the developer may want to talk about that as well. But if you have any questions about that, that's what he's here to. Our review fee as set by Commissioner's Court is 25% of the fee that's calculated based on the cost of construction. Well, it was calculated based on the cost of construction and the number of lots, mileage of roads, and so forth. On this project, we have a question in that cost of construction appears to have shifted. We are looking for the developer's engineer to submit a revised cost of construction, potentially provide bond based on the cost of construction. So coming up with the exact number today of what this fee is, I don't know the exact number. Because I would presume when we get that revised cost of construction, we calculate that number, not the original. That being said, I think the developer may want to speak to that to some degree, but our advice to court would be whatever you decide on this to approve or disapprove, that it be contingent upon that updated engineering cost and updated bond being submitted for review by the court, so that fee could be set prior to the filing of the plat.
Updated.
Cost of construction and bond. I'll let Derek's here with the developer, and I think they probably have some stuff to add on that, but that's kind of where I'm at. So. This is kind of,
It's haven't changed, has it?
no. Just make sure you say your name before you start talking. Board yours.
David Fry, I'm with developers members. So on the, obviously the variance for the, a waiver of the fee, our stance is that it was a very minor, it only took about 2 days. I think y'all can confirm that, between GLS and Blau, there was very quick turnaround with just some adjustments on a few comments and didn't feel like it was warranted for a $25,000 fee or 25% fee. Just so happens it's around that price, but 25%. And then, as Andy mentioned, we really, I guess the request, I don't know if this is okay to say here, but maybe it's a special session so we could discuss the bonding and how we calculate our numbers and came up with our construction costs. But we are willing, obviously, to do whatever we need to do to try to get the correct bond number that we all agree upon. Even though we've already agreed upon a bond number, and that was done with about 11 months ago that we agreed upon that. So we're happy to come back to the table and discuss any bond discrepancy numbers, and we want to make sure we comply. But what we're really asking for, since last court Friday, I signed on a loan that would make anyone shake. And if I don't get this thing going in, 2 weeks, we're in bad shape. So that was all based upon having approval last week, or last court. So there's just a lot of more moving parts here for us now, and it kind of puts a whole lot of urgency on it. So that's all I have right now.
So I know this is in mind. I guess I'll take the lead. I don't really have a problem with waiving the fourth review because it was minimal. That's going to be up for discussion. The bond issue, we need to get that right. I know that Derek talked about we removed the dirt, getting rid of the dirt because this maybe what you think the differential is going to be somewhere in that neighborhood.
Sure. So there's a lot of things that have changed from when we put that cost estimate together. What we had submitted with the cost estimate was letters from 2 different companies that were willing and are still willing to remove the dirt for the ponds for treat. Basically, they want the material. And so,
Can I interject? Not just willing, this is our track record. We've done this over and over again. I can show that.
So that's the way the costs are normally for them. And so we had submitted the idea of, since those are not real costs because it can be removed for free, we did not include that amount in the bond. Well, the county's coming back now, and this, like David said, with the county, or he'll work with the county. But that's the reason for the change now is because if we put that dirt money back in there, obviously the price is going to be a little higher. Now, there's other things that have occurred, like we've changed some of the pipeline construction where we're not putting as much concrete in. There's other things that have changed too. So all in, I believe the bond that was approved is real close to $3 million. It was like 2.9 and some change. We've already revised the cost estimate with these changes, and it'll be right close to 3.4. So we're talking about a $450,000 estimated increase in that bond. So David's willing to work that out with the bond company. We think we can be successful at that. I think his main goal is, what is the quickest way, whether it's a special session, whether it's a contingent approval that we can make now, to actually get that so he can get his budget.
We don't think we'll have an issue with the bond increase, but we won't know that till we bring an actual number to them.
Mr. Fryer, I do feel your pain, but in the last several months, we've had 2 other developers that have went into third submittal. One of them is a very big project, and I've basically told them, and they didn't even come to court and ask, and that the third review, they would have to pay the deal. So I won't be supporting it. I think there was one in Ronnie's precinct, not a very big one, but we kind of stuck our guns on that. I do hate and understand it because it is part of the process, but
I understand too, if I could say one more thing on that, and y'all brought this up, I think before, that if there were comments that had come in after the first review, that it would be maybe a different situation. Y'all clarify that. I don't want to split words, but I do believe we had comments that were not able to be addressed, which is
also why we have a fourth review.
So it's just not, I'm trying to say that it's not apples to apples.
Yeah.
It's a kind of an interesting situation. So first review, the comments were actually addressed. The comments went away in the second review. But what had happened is because of what we had to work out with the pipeline company, some of those comments came back in that third review. And then again, it was minor grading things like that. So it wasn't a matter of, we got a comment and we either chose to not to or didn't do the work to fix the comment. It was because there were so many parts moving around with the pipeline company that's why the fourth review.
For clarity on that, they went away and came back because of changes. They didn't go away because they were omitted. They went away and then they came back because of changes to how they were handling.
The grading changed.
Yeah.
So most of it was to do with the pipeline stuff.
Yes, so
Basically.
pipeline, I won't get into them because
You don't have to, I deal with it.
I understand.
But they were a moving target once we finally hit them. When you change grades on the easements and stuff, it ended up changing some grades on ditches and things like that, because they have to. And they did a good job catching on the third review. That ended up making some of our road grades just off. Some of the ditches had a little bit less freeboard.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a matter of the review, the third review was 3 or 4 days, and it was very minor. It was ditch grade, road grades, and ditch freeboard.
But it was plan change. So
And therefore, again, that's the reason I mean, this is a big project these other guys are putting in. And, I told them no, so. Now, if we need to change something later on, then that's fine, but, or may look at some different options, but at this time, I can't support.
So you're from GLS.
Yes, sir.
What was your invoice to the county for your last review?
I couldn't speak
Or
to that,
hours or
sir.
whatever.
I could get back with you with that information. I wasn't not prepared to bring that up.
He's not the billable guy.
You have any idea? How many hours?
I mean, it was probably 3 or 4 days. I don't know if I was working on it all day, but at 3/4 of a day, 4 to 6 hours, call it 18 to 20 hours.
What's your view on it, Brandon?
Because of the situation, I don't have a problem waiving the fee.
We like the pipeline taking. Sweet.
I don't necessarily I don't want to waive 100% of the fee because we're gonna write them guys a check for what they did. So my thought would be, hang on a second, my thoughts, if you're gonna make the motion, I would suggest rather than go through, come back after the bond number and all stuff like that. I would throw $5,000 at you and say, hey, I'll reduce the filing fee for 22,000. That's basically 25% of it. It eliminates all that come back for the bond stuff. And just go
over GLS.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you a minute ago. I was just gonna offer the same thing. If we could even pay the invoice, we'd be happy to do that if that, I don't know what it is, but.
I think set fee is more manageable for us.
Okay.
I think a set fee would be
You know, talking about the bond thing?
simpler.
Yeah.
So then I've got an action item on choosing between those two things. Okay, the question I've got is, can we address this bond issue now? Even though I
Glenn says
don't
no.
think that was.
Don't have an agenda.
Glenn says no.
It relates to the fee, so if you guys are going to waive the fee, I would put the contingency that it come back before court. That's handouts there, but it's gonna have to come back to court for approval.
Okay.
So I wouldn't approve the fee without relating it to the revised cost of construction, because that's what whether you waive a portion of it. I can't tell you as I sit here today, what the amount that you're waiving is that's above 5,000 exactly. We can guess at it, but we don't know exactly.
I'll back you. If you say 5,000, I'll make a second.
So we'll make the motion to. I don't know, I'm gonna say we'll reduce the price of the fourth submittal fee to $5,000.
I'll second that motion.
Say one thing for y'all. So just back on his concern about the 2 weeks. I don't know if that's something that y'all can set later, but if there's any way that a meeting can happen as soon as possible, I know you've got the legal requirements for making the meeting to be able to address the bond, Bill hustle to get the bond company happy. So anyway, we can.
Could that happen later this week?
It'll have to happen this week.
The next week, we're all in school just about. We're gone.
We need 3 days to post.
Need 3 days to post, so.
Friday, if it can happen with Friday.
We'll know whether we can meet that today. We'll be able to know if the bond company's gonna agree or we're gonna have to come up with another.
When do you have to post it?
Brandon, we've got contingent upon updated cost of construction and to reduce the fee of a total of $5,000.
Yeah, so we need to add all this in here. The approval of the variance is the contingent on the accepting bond and cost estimate being
What am I reading now?
I'm good in this.
submitted to prior to the filing of the plat. Developer chooses to pay the fee of 5,000.
That goes after the
Friday would actually probably be better than the rest of the week.
That's what, we got that? That's my motion.
8, be done.
Well, Joe,
Friday's good for me.
Yeah, we can make it work. So we got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 4-1, motion carries. And
Very good. Thank you.
let somebody know as soon as possible. All right, y'all want?
I need.
You want a 5-minute break?
Absolutely.
Oh, what?
5 minutes.
How long is it gonna be on this?
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
It is for me.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break at 11:49. Yeah, one second. All right, we're back at 11:57. We're gonna go into workshop with Mr. Ellison Development. State your full name for Ms. French.
My name is, William Ross Ellison, Ellison Development, Ellison.
Floor is yours.
Morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me here this morning. I don't know what all those papers, here's not mine, so.
Oh, just set over on Andy got it. There you go.
Well, something need to be written. Can I give you guys copies?
Yeah, you can come up.
Like, I don't know what the form is or anything.
No, no,
I'll approach it or anything.
It's laid back, just. Right.
Change this a little bit. So, I bought it, the track that you guys are aware of over off of 150. And our intent was to come in and do a development. And there's the conversation of what the lot sizes are and so forth. And what I'm here to do today is simply just ask you guys, I can go over this entire thing with you and have a conversation about it and see what we can do to come to an agreement on getting this development moving forward. We've been on hold for a little while, just trying to kind of work our way through and figure out, it's the first time I've developed in Walker County. So we've been very successful with the product that we put on the ground in Montgomery County. So what we've got is, it's about 318 acres, that we're developing. And it's got it's got 30-foot, 40-foot and 50-foot lot product. That's the lot width, that we're anticipating putting over there. The original conversations that we had was, all the county standards, everything else would be followed as far as road width, fire hydrants, anything that Andy brought up previously. The only thing really that I think that we're talking about is the lot size at this point. So I'm here to ask a question of, what do you guys want? What do you need? Some of the early conversations we had, we didn't have in here. We've allocated 14.5 acres for an elementary school site that we're going to donate for an elementary school to be brought in. We also put a reserve in there on that bottom left side. You'll see there that detention will change a little bit in order to make a proper facility or a proper spot for emergency services facility also. But I just recently understand that there's 2 miles down the road, there's a fire department going in. So I'm not sure if that's needed or not. But we're certainly happy to do whatever we can in order to proceed forward with this. So, probably answered, but putting the fire station down here, so that's gonna go away. Have you talked to the school district about this? No, we haven't yet. We at this point, we designated a site is all that we've done. In order to help matters from alleviate some other areas where there is a need for school. When you and I originally talked about this, there was a big portion of this that was gonna be rental housing. How much is not denoted on this? Are you still planning rental housing? So no, sir. Just for clarification, so my home building company, I sold to D.R. Horton last year. And so D.R. Horton is contracted to buy every lot in the subdivision. So all these will be D.R. Horton homes. And we've since taken out all of the rental aspect of it. I'm not a home builder anymore. I'm strictly a land developer. And the average price point in here is going to be from the low end to the high end. The average is going to be around $350,000 homes. That's going to go in here from top to bottom, putting about $378 million taxable revenue into or taxable value in. That equates down to about $1.5 million in county tax revenue that comes in, and about $4.5 million in school revenue that comes in. Mr. Ellison, we just had a big discussion about policy and the policy that we had set, and I told you in the first original meeting that I was not a fan of this. I'm still not a fan of it. It's nowhere close to our policy, our widths. But this is a workshop. That's just my opinion. The rest of the courts. Talk to them.
Well, I can tell you, I was the one he was talking about on policy, so you have to show me why you can't live by policy.
the intent and what we've done, and the other developments that we've done has been very much looking at affordable housing and bringing affordable housing to areas where working class people can live. Right now, if you've got a single person that's working for EMS, a single person that's working for the police department, at the hospital, a nurse, or the night stalker at HEB or at the, whatever the grocery store is, they can't afford to live on their own. But when you start putting a sub $200,000 home in, and if you drive through the subdivisions that we've done in the past, you'll see that these are working class people that can finally afford, instead of paying, $1,700 a month or $2,000 a month for an apartment, when they can go into a house for $1,200 or $1,300 a month and then put $400 or $500 a month back in that young person's pocket or in that policeman's pocket or whoever it may be, whatever their job title may be. That's life changing for those people. So that's what's been my passion and what I've been doing. I grew up on welfare and food stamps. We were literally homeless when I was 8, 9 years old. I come from nothing. And I've been on the other end where I was remodeling $10 and $15 million homes that I was doing $2 million remodels on. I just figured out over time, I don't really like rich people. So I don't deal with them anymore. So I went back to my family and that's who we build houses, or we're building houses for, that now D.R. Horton is able to take that and make it at a much larger scale than what I probably ever could have done.
Good thought, Danny.
Well, I think I proved that a while ago when we voted on the deal, on the subdivision deal. I mean, the fee deal, but I don't, I would like to see why you can't do it the way we've got it set up. Honestly, I understand, people trying to get things to live, but it's also, about making money, and everybody's got to make money. And these developers, they squeeze us nickel and dime us to death. And, you're saying $1 million is what we're going to be bringing in tax revenue. When you put in something this dense, we'll eat that $1 million up pretty quick.
Can you help me to understand where?
Law enforcement, EMS, the roads going to be private or
Public.
Public. So don't take long.
Well, so it's all concrete road, curb and gutter. And so those are, 50, 75 year roads. It's not something that's it's an immediate thing where it's not an asphalt road that is getting torn up by the first few dump trucks going through it, as you can understand. So I guess I didn't answer your question earlier, Mr. White, was why we can't follow the rules that you guys have set in place. It's about affordability. Not so much about that we can't. It's a matter of we're trying to do something just that's a little bit different. It's not so much about trying to pack everything in and try to make money. If I sell an 80-foot lot for $1 a foot, or if I sell a 30-foot lot, 3 of those lots is the same as one. Basically it's the same as that one 80-foot lot. So my money is not any different, really, from that standpoint. When you start also looking at the commerce of it, of smaller lot, you got 2 trash services, you got 2 internet bills, you got 2 water bills, you got 2 gas bills, whatever the various things are, that starts to create commerce. And that starts to spread more money out with various industries and so forth. So it's not that we can't do an 80-foot lot. It's just that an 80-foot lot all of a sudden is, a $120,000, $130,000 lot. They got to put a $350,000, $400,000 or $400,000 to $500,000 house on that lot. They can't put a $200,000 house, sub $200,000 house on the lot. And so it completely takes out pretty much every working class person who, especially if it's a single person, that there's no possible way for them to, unless they got some family money or something, then there's no possible way for them to be able to afford housing. And then when you start looking at various races and cultures and things like that start to come into play, there are very little that they can do to afford a $350,000 to $500,000-$600,000 home. But to go back to what Daniel was saying, if you put 3 consecutive lots, you got 3 consecutive families that you got to provide medical, not medical, police, fire, EMS, all the different services that we provide versus 1 lot, one family. So you reduce the amount of people, right?
So
possibly. Are you discussing the potential of future variance application? We're.
I got a question.
You can answer yes. We're looking at the, yes.
I hate to say it, but I don't.
So
I don't want to
the
say
court
it.
has the
Let me go through all this and then
backed up that address
Before we cut him
things
loose, it might make
access.
other conversations.
How access is
Yeah,
gonna
just
be.
hold back there.
Drainage.
Hold back there. We're in workshop.
I'm not that you guys. Want, it's gonna give them a lot of information to sort of respond. That's why they have the variance process, and just make sure you're aware. They do allow developers to apply for variances prior to the formal. See whether or not the variances would be granted. No, I wasn't aware of that. Because we understand that that's part of the planning process, and without knowing that, very hard to design. Design a subdivision. So just. Thank you.
What about Cope?
Oh, yeah, I've
You know,
talked, I've talked, met with them, and this is my suggestion.
Okay.
So we get everybody same page. Y'all got questions? Throw it out there.
Yeah,
So
well, you just heard me totally turn down a guy on the policy a while ago, so I mean, that's kind of where we'd have to bring it back and show me exactly why you can't live by our policy. I mean, that's what I'd have to say. And he, we turned him down. He was asking.
Situation, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I understand what you're saying though.
So, but I mean, if it can't be lived by, that's one thing. But if you can, then we try to go along with the policy if we can.
I understand your position.
So.
Sorry.
Bill, you got comments,
What do you
questions?
got, Bill?
I do. There's a state statute that states the county has the authority to establish lot widths on an existing county road. I can't see where it says we have the authority to establish lot widths on a non-county road. That's what I asked Quentin back in the back. So could I ask you to expand on that a little bit, Quentin, your thoughts?
Well, the statute doesn't actually say lot width. It says frontage.
Frontage.
And the phrase has two parts. The first part has the word existing in it. The second part, dealing with curvature on roads, does not have existing. So the statute as drafted would be somewhat ambiguous. Does that mean that you can only regulate lot frontages or frontage on roads? All roads that have, where the curves are, straights, you can only do it on the existing portion. The case law isn't there. The AG opinions are not there. I don't have a definitive position on that. There is also the question of what determines existing. Moment, there is case law. Once a tract of land has been platted and roads are laid out on that tract of land, the road isn't built there yet. No one's driving on it yet. But property rights, property owners have rights to that at that location because it's on the plat. Is that the definition of existing that you're supposed to use? And are we only using the existing on the straights and not the curves? Or is there an implied existing on the curves? Or is this, I don't have a definitive answer for it.
I'm a little bit confused as to how this relates. He just said he's gonna.
I can tell you how this relates, Andy. The commissioner's position is because this isn't an existing road, the developer can have the lot width that he chooses.
He just said you were gonna build county roads. We would dedicate them to the county or put them in the county. But if we're talking about existing, it's not an existing road, I guess it's your point.
That's not really my point, that's the commissioner's.
Well, it's not really my point. I just said what I read.
Question.
I mean, that's what I read, and it's bothers me enough
But it is an open question for the court. I can't give you a definitive answer as to how that applies, because the statute, like I said, it on the surface appears ambiguous to me. The general idea, though, when a statute appears ambiguous, you have to read it, in a way that it doesn't result in an absurd result, and it doesn't nullify other statutes' value or purpose. And so my inclination is that the word existing here should be read broadly to mean, for instance, a plat with a dedicated roadway. That's my inclination, but that is not my definitive answer. It does open the question here on frontage on the road. What is your authority to regulate that? Subdivision regulations as established by your authority on the sub does appear to give you some authority. But again, in that one phrase in that statute, it talks about existing when referencing certain roads, and then it leaves out existing when it references curvature. And it's in the same sentence.
Right.
It's not like it's far apart.
Attorney wrote it.
So it's kind of
Left it open-ended.
but what I'm gonna do is be absurd for the developer. All the straight parts, you can do whatever width you want. When you get to a curve, we get to tell you how wide the lot is. I don't think that's what the legislature intended. And I know the developers wouldn't like that. So but I know the commissioners raised that concern before, and he wanted to make sure that you all have that information.
Because
Thank you, Glenn.
here's my thought. Mr. Ellison shows up in 2 weeks with this platted out with 30-foot lots and roads and files it in his office and said, I'm ready to go forward. That's my concern. What happens then? We say we don't know. That's not a fair answer.
Well, I've already told him my answer, so.
Well, I understand that. I'm saying we have a policy to stick by, but I'm sure that we're enforcing a legal policy. You know what I mean?
Well, if we're not, then we have a legal representation in the back.
Well, that's what I'm asking him about. That's what I'm asking him.
Commissioner, that's the whole point of this. I can't give you a definitive legal answer on the validity of that element of your subdivision. So you'll need to. Obviously, you need to continue to review your subdivision policy. I've had this discussion with Andy about this as well. And I know he's working on trying to get an additional legal opinion on it. I understand the attorney for the developer has taken a position that he seems very confident and definitive that his case law doesn't support the certainty that he identified. And so there are avenues for a commissioner's court to address lot frontage within the subdivision policy. But it's not just because it's what our policy says. If you do that, you will lose that legal argument. I can assure you of that. I've seen the case law. You have to have another reason for it than just, that's our policy. That much I can tell you for sure.
Okay.
So what are you doing about sewer and water in here?
There's a private, third party that's putting in full water and sewer. So it's gonna be a very large company.
Where is the facility gonna be located?
Wastewater treatment plant, if you come up to the first left on the second entrance, right there, and go, or on the first entrance where those two arrows come together.
It's like plus or minus an acre?
There's another one
I got
here.
glass, but I believe that's what it says.
Okay.
And then the
Wastewater treatment plant, water plant.
water plant is up there, kind of in the middle where it says rec, the left of SF.
There's another one over here. Water plant.
There's two water plants.
Oh, so there's another water plant between 10 and 9.
Yeah.
There's actually two water plants there. Thank you, Wilson.
So where we go from here, guys?
You got any more? You got questions? Anybody?
So just to show you what we have been working on we kind of held off a little while on proceeding forward with actually getting the plating documents and getting something to actually submit. So that we can have this conversation and make sure that if there were questions that you had, or if there were comments that you had, what I might need to do to take this into consideration, so that we could submit a proper initial application. And so, to Mr. Duggan's point, is that we are about 2-3 weeks away from submitting that initial application.
Are you looking at future growth up here and out here?
They're ready to sell now. So we reached out to a couple of those people. I know that the Hardy tract that's right there to the left of this, recently, it's in contract right now. We were looking at buying that, but somebody got ahead of me on it for future expansion there. But yes, we're certainly open to future expansion.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything else? I think you know where I stand on it, so.
Sir, thank you.
Anybody else? Either party.
You talked to Bill about this too? This. No, I haven't talked to Bill about it.
But Mr. Russell Bird back there in the back.
Russell and he have, I guess, working on delivering another county.
And I forward this to our conversations. Russ, I've sent it to Quentin and copied the judge on it. So that's the only other one I could send it to.
Sure.
Done? You got anything else you want to throw at us while you're here?
Yeah, I've not done this before, so I'm trying to wade my way through it. I'm just a dumb country boy, so.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you telling us straight out. I like to hear it straight, so.
All right. Anybody got anything else? Last call.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming.
really appreciate it.
Perhaps today would be a good day for us to go under 071 and have an executive session to discuss this from the legal perspective.
All right. So we're gonna go back in exec session under 551.071.
Thank y'all.
Gary, do you need to find somebody?
Appreciate your time today.
Need to find somebody to switch you out? All right, we're back up. It's 12:37, back from executive session. Any public comment?
Not anything I can say right now.
Questions from the media? Commissioners Court?